All right. All right. We're here with Milo. We're here with my dog. We're here with Milo. He's got a little face like a frog. We're here with my little pug. He's a little cutie pie. We're here with my dog. He's such a little guy. He's a cute, cute dog with a cute, cute face. He's getting cute all over the place. He's such a cute little guy. His name is Milo Pants. Yes, his name is Milo Pants. Yes, it is. His name is Milo Pants. Yes, it is. His name is Milo Pants. All right, buddy, you're a good boy. You're a good boy. Let's give it up for Milo. Yay! Milo, Compton, DJ, good to see you guys. First in the door today. Hope you guys are doing well. I got to tell you, I'm having a beautiful day today. I'm having an absolutely beautiful day today. Got some half-price wings, upgraded my computer a little bit. Took a little bit of the money that I've been saving up, upgraded my computer. I've got Baldur's Gate 3 waiting for me after this stream. Went and sat on the beach. Had a beautiful beach day. Got some ice cream. Took in the sky. Took in everything around me. Today's a good day. I've been playing with my little dog and setting up the stream, of course, as one does. As one does. I hope you guys have been having a good one out there today, too. Like, one of the things that I find difficult to do, and I can really appreciate the difficultness or the difficulty of doing this, is actually just pausing and enjoying the moment that you are in. I know that sounds so cliche at this point. Like, we've all heard the Beatles. We all heard the Beatles, right? We all know about it, right? Live in the moment, man. Live in the moment, bro. But really, the truth is that it is difficult to just pause and appreciate the time that you are in and to look and enjoy, like families enjoying their time together, kids running around, pets, dogs, and the like. It's really difficult to just take in the beauty of the moment because there are these looming, overwhelming catastrophes that we know exist. That while you're sitting there enjoying this moment, you know that in the distance of your consciousness and of your reality is this looming catastrophe that is certainly coming our way. And at this point, I think are unavoidable. I don't think that we can avoid these catastrophes that are coming for us because the capitalist death cult is doing everything they can to drive us towards them as fast as possible. That any deviations that the death cult is attempting to do are simultaneously attempting to accommodate their power. That they, sure, will acknowledge the existence of climate change. Sure, yeah, but we're not going to actually do something about it that's going to diminish our power. We're not going to actually stop putting in... We're not going to actually give away our wealth. We're not actually going to stop polluting. We're not actually going to pull back on our militarism. We're not actually going to do the things that are necessary to do in order to reduce our climate impact. That's never going to happen, ever. Because we have to sell those products. We need to make some money. We need to extract as much wealth from the public as we possibly can before we abandon them, right? Where we can't possibly just stop polluting. That's not part of the deal. And so, what are they doing? They're like shooting rockets into space. They're going to put space umbrellas. They're going to block out the sun, right? These are the ideas that come out of the death cult. It's blocking the sun. That's my favorite. It's my absolute favorite. And so it's difficult. It's difficult to actually pause and enjoy your life. But when you do, oh, it's sweet. It's a sweet little moment. I tell you what it is. It's everything falls away, and you're just sitting on the beach, staring at the clouds, staring at the sky. That's absolutely beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. Compton writes, Milo, don't get barking, dude. You had all your treats. Compton writes, did you hear about how Americans are pulling from their 401ks at an alarming rate? Of course they are, right? They've got money sitting there, right, that they've been putting into their 401ks, right, their retirement funds, and the system of wealth, the prices have gone up, so of course they're pulling money from it because they need to pay bills now, right? They need to eat now, right? Of course they're doing that, right? Like, I know for myself, I have dipped into my savings fairly recently, right? I know that I just talked about how I upgraded my computer and all that kind of stuff, but, you know, we have to make these minor concessions. I've saved up some money. I deserve it, damn it. Don't I deserve to have some fun too? But, like, I definitely have pulled from my savings just in order to have, like, the money in an account so that it's like, okay, it's there. It's there. I feel like I can have, like, something can happen, something serious, like, a filling can blow up in my mouth right now, and I'm fine, right? And I feel like it isn't so, I mean, I shouldn't say it isn't so much. Of course, there is just like a general sense of desperation. There is a general case of, there is a general, sense, there's the word, oh my God. There's a general sense, right, of anxiety that comes with what's going on. And people see that there are people not making it, right? Like, you can see the homelessness spread. Like, if you want to remain delusional about that, you can do that, just like people remain delusional about lots of things. But if you want to be like a person with a brain in your head, you can see that there's homelessness and that it is spreading. And then in some places, year over year, it's doubling. Like, it's getting really bad. And if you're seeing that, you're starting to see your own finances getting tight, then you're going to do what you need to do, right? You gotta do what you gotta do. Yeah, and it's good to bring up Compton, right? Compton writes, I thought it was insane to consider doing that to my 403B. I thought I was alone. And no, it's been happening. That's right. Demand Better, good to see you. Aaron, good to see you too, bud. Eric, good to see you. Rusty, absolute pleasure as always, my man. I'm so glad you guys are here. Don't forget to like and share and subscribe and do all that kind of stuff, right? Patreon, tell people, you guys know. You are the stalwart, the steady and the true. I hope you guys are doing well out there. I think, Compton, you're really hitting on something, right? It's important for us to acknowledge that there is that it's not just you. You're not isolated. It's not just you, right? And the system of capital wants us to feel as though we are isolated, and you're not, right? And so when you actually dip into those sorts of things, don't feel like a failure, right? It's happening across the board. And the wealth inequality is getting worse in this society. Things are getting way more dramatic, way more serious, way faster than people think, right? Way faster than people think. And that the news cycle is getting so fast now that people cannot keep up. They can't keep up with how things are going. And so you are not alone, not by a long shot. And that, but once those 401ks and once those 403bs and all that are dried up, what then? Right? What then? What's the next step? And the capitalists don't have a solution to this, because their solution is to extract as much wealth from the populace as possible and then abandon it. Right? That's the strategy of the capitalist death cult. Aaron, man, solar mirrors are something scientists are going to figure out as the sun progresses through its lifestyle, or some other solution. It's just magical thinking is all it is. It's just magic, right? Yeah, they'll come up like a wizard, right? They'll come up with a magic spell. Like Mr. Burns blocking out the sun. That's a solution, right? Guys like Bill Gates and these scientists that are doing this kind of stuff are salesmen. They're trying to sell you a solution. Right? They're not interested in saying things like, we've got to stop polluting. We've actually got to come together as a people and make communal solutions that reduce pollution and create solutions to the problems of our pollution reduction that that look to the survival of the community and the success of the community, right? They're never going to say that because that doesn't enrich them, right? That doesn't enrich them. They want to sell you a product, and that's what the capitalists are always going to do. They're going to try to sell you a product. And another thing that the capitalists will always do is gaslight you. They'll gaslight you into thinking like, oh yeah, we're on it. We're working on it. Yeah, absolutely. While they're like building their bunker or building their rocket to go to Mars or whatever, right? They're spreading misinformation into the propaganda system to be like, oh yeah, everything's fine. Everything's completely fine. Yeah, yep. Don't worry about it. I've got my bunker. Yep. Everything's fine, though. Don't worry about it. Just building bunkers over here. Like, these people are grifters. Like, they're grifters. That's the whole point. Like, the whole point of the... Like, one of the things I was really thinking about today. Like, there is no aspect of the society that is interested in telling you the truth or being honest about anything, right? It's a society of grifters. This is a grifting society. Grifting is what we do. We pull scams on each other. That's what the whole system is built around. That those of us who want to actually live an honest life and not scam one another, well, we're going to live a poor life. Real simple, right? Aaron writes, I'm confused. I can understand if someone proposes this as a solution for climate change, but do you not believe the sun will progress through the life cycle as described by mainstream science? Sure. But I don't think they're going to, like, they are going to sell us a solution, a climate change solution with science. That is not a climate change solution. That's my point. I'm not denying the existence of the life cycle of the sun, right? I'm saying that that's not the point. The point is that these billionaires, oh yeah, believe me, like, I am pro-science. I'm never ever going to say, no, once we start talking about flat Earth shit, you'll see. But we are being sold. Like, we are being sold. Like, if we actually cared about the science, right? We wouldn't be thinking about, like, some Star Trek solution. Let's open up a space umbrella. Let's do this kind of stuff. If we actually cared about the science, we would be saying, oh, you know what we should do is we should stop polluting. That's what we should do. When I walk downtown here in Toronto, and you know how I know for a fact? You know how I know for a fact that we do not give a shit at all about climate change, even a tiny little bit? You know how I know for a fact that we don't care? Because when I go to Times Square, the place is lit up like a candle. When I go to Las Vegas, the place is lit up like a candle. When I go to Yonge and Dundas here in Toronto, the place is lit up like a candle, even in the middle of the day. We don't give a fuck about climate change. We don't care even a tiny little bit. Everything that we have to say about it is just platitudes. Period, full stop. Every politician to an individual, every scientist to an individual, with the exceptions of the ones that are actually putting themselves out there, like the fellow that actually lit himself on fire that never got reported, right? Scientists literally lighting themselves on fire in front of Parliament buildings, and it's just not reported. Literally page like 10 of some hack media thing, and we're all just supposed to ignore these kinds of signs. Scientists holding protests, scientists storming buildings, right? These are the only honest scientists. Everybody else is full of shit, right? And the number one sign of how you know that's true is that there's fucking ads lit up in the middle of your city. You can walk down to the middle of your city and just see these big billboard lights, just like a fucking light show, sucking up fossil fuels, just blasting, so that you can know about Tim Biebs or something, so you can know about, like, Beyonce's new project. Like, it's fucking ridiculous. That's how I know for a fact that nobody gives a shit about climate change, even a tiny little bit. That when your kids start saying, talking to you about climate change, you can shrug and be like, oh yeah, whatever, right? Or say whatever dumb bullshit you're gonna say, but nobody's actually serious about it. There's so many things that we could be doing. Like, there's so many things. But of course, if you actually start talking about real solutions, the brain-dead libertarian right, the conservatives, the conservative fascists that are taking everything over, will immediately say, oh, you want to starve everybody. We rely on fossil fuels for food. As if we're not going to have, like, a rational... Like shutting off the lights in Dundas Square is not the same as cutting the food supply, of which we throw out 40% of our food, by the way. So maybe free market solutions in that regard is a stupid idea, too, right? It's not like we're distributing that food successfully anyway. But the point that I'm driving at is that it's not possible to have rational conversations about this stuff anymore. Because if you start to actually have a rational conversation or attempt to have a rational conversation, you immediately realize that you're talking to demented people who are either children or just in the pocket of the fossil fuel industry, who are literally paid to be stupid, right? That you can't actually say, this is a problem, and have everybody go, correct, this is a problem. Okay, what are things that we can actually do to face this problem reasonably and rationally? And something like turn the lights off on Times Square, right? Turn the lights off in Dundas Square. Turn the lights off in Las Vegas, right? Turn these fucking lights off, right? There's the most rational thing that you've heard probably in the last fucking 5 years, right? Stop wasting energy. Stop wasting electricity. Stop burning fossil fuels so that fucking Jeff Bezos can shoot rockets at space. Stop burning fossil fuels so Taylor Swift can go around doing whatever the fuck she's doing, right? Stop burning fossil fuels so that fucking Jeffrey Epstein's pedophile island can exist. Stop burning fossil fuels so that the military-industrial complex can exert its authority overseas and bomb the shit out of people for no fucking reason, right? Stop using fossil fuels. Like, stop it. But we're dumb. We're desperately stupid. And we can't actually have serious conversations about anything. Like, we're just not permitted. And you can see that we're not permitted to have serious discussions about these conversations because the left has been completely chased out of the discourse. Nobody's talking to somebody like Richard Wolff. Like, nobody's talking to Noam Chomsky. Nobody's talking to Chris Hedges, right? No, all of the actual leftists that are actually exist out there, who are not liberals, but actual people who are on the left, right? They're just not permitted to be in the discourse. They're not permitted to be in the conversation at all. And if somebody who might possibly be slightly to the left of the conversation actually does manage to get on a television show, at any point, that television show gets fucking shut down. Gets fucking shut down. Saying Richard Wolff is a hack grifter tells me that you're illiterate. Saying that Chomsky is an educated idiot tells me that you're illiterate. The left memes itself, and you misspelled meme. Like, congratulations, dude. Like, you just said the dumbest things in my chat maybe in 6 months. That's like the dumbest possible thing. Like, Noam Chomsky, you can disagree with certain things that Noam Chomsky has written, and I have, or that Noam Chomsky believes, right? No, here you go, right? Like, Noam Chomsky is the greatest living American intellectual, and to pretend like he's anything else just tells me how stupid you are. Like, full stop. Like, if you're actually going to stand up in front of me and say that Chomsky is an educated idiot, then that's embarrassing for you. Like, that's an embarrassing thing to say. You can like, my criticism towards Chomsky, Thomas Sowell. How fucking embarrassing can you get? Thomas Sowell is literally a sellout. Like, no, there's just no reason to debate somebody like Sowell. And in fact, actually, Noam Chomsky has said that he would debate Sowell. He doesn't see much value in it, and I think that's correct, because Sowell is essentially, like, his position is buck up. Like, that's it. Thomas Sowell can be boiled down to just buck up. And it's so childish and stupid that it's not worth really, like, okay, great. Like, it essentially what Thomas Sowell has done, and what guys like Milton Friedman do, and Peterson and all these hacks, right? What they all do is they walk up to somebody who is drowning in the ocean, right? They drive up to the person drowning in the ocean in a yacht, and they look at the guy drowning in the ocean, right? They look at the guy drowning in the ocean and they say, "You just need to swim harder. Swim harder, guy drowning in the ocean." And then when the guy inevitably drowns, and which is what's going to happen, I just don't need children, dude. That's all. You just need to grow up, my man. Nah, we're done with you. Like, I don't need, like, I'm fine having a discussion, but the second you start acting like a child, get out of here. Like, it's one of the things that I've really noticed is that the second you start having a conversation with these guys, they just start crying like children. Like, this guy literally starts going, wah, wah, like that. I've had it happen a couple of times recently. Like, if you're gonna cry like a child, like, I'm not your babysitter. Like, go get a babysitter, right? Go get a pat on the butt, right? I'm not interested in talking to you. If you're gonna act like a child, go be a child somewhere else. Jesus Christ. And this is the nature of the discourse that we're having now, right? This is the nature of the discourse that we're having now. You have literally grown children who didn't advance past the age of maybe 12 coming in and telling you, like, Thomas Sowell is the guy. And then when you point out that he's a fraud, because he's an obvious fraud, like, and as soon as you're grown up, you realize that he's a fraud, because all he's ever said is, you can do it, buck up, right? Which, if you actually go and say this to the homeless people who live in the streets, they're going to look at you like you're a fucking dimwit, because you are, right? Because it's the most dim-witted possible thing to say. Like, as if the forces of the universe cannot crush a person. Right? As if the forces of the universe cannot crush a person. And that the people who are really dim-witted are the people who are standing up saying that we shouldn't throw 40% of our food away and instead we should give that to the poor. Those are the real dimwits. Wah! Wah! Yeah, that's what you sound like. Wah! Wah! Like, we're debating children. Like, this is the problem. Is that we're debating children who are completely fine with watching the society be obliterated. Who are completely fine with watching the society get completely obliterated. Like, and it's getting really, really obvious. Right? What are you guys writing? I swear once people start denying science, it's very easy to fall under climate denial, especially if you're a flat earther. Yeah, I mean, like, look, my position is as simple as this. That if you ever are confronted by evidence that goes against your idea or your dogma, you got to go with the evidence. You have to. And the faster you get there, the better you'll be. The better off you'll be. So if you can provide evidence for your claims or your ideas, then I'm going to go with it. But if that's not what happens in today's society, right? Today's society does not give a shit about facts, evidence, truth, any of this. They don't care about anything. They care about being in an in-group. They care about being part of their little tribe, right? Milo, dude, you've had all your treats. Like, you're good. You're good. You know what's wild? House GOP proposed we plant 100 trillion trees. I mean, let's go, yeah. Like, first of all, job creation, right? Planting trees. Like, we should be planting trees. I'm completely on board with this idea. Like, there's another really solid, easy solution. Like, the people who are walking around being like, what we need to do is invent carbon capture technologies. And then we'll build a machine, and those machines will get carbon capture. Shut up. Like, shut up. Even if you developed that stuff right now. Even if you developed that stuff right now. Like, even if you were developing that carbon capture technology right now, and you were beginning the process of doing it right now, it would never be more efficient than just planting trees. Right? We have carbon capture technology already. It's called a fucking tree. And we're just too dim-witted to actually realize that, like, oh, hey, wait a minute. We've got an unemployment crisis. We got a wealth distribution crisis. We got a climate crisis. What if we funded a bunch of people to go plant a bunch of trees? Oh, my God. Oh, wait a minute. Holy shit, you guys. But that's not how we roll, because that doesn't directly enrich, psychopathic billionaires. That's not how it works, right? Like that doesn't mean that Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, or that Elon Musk and Zuckerberg can have a fist fight with one another, right? Like what are you talking about? How does that inflate the ego of narcissists? I don't get it. One of the grifts I'm seeing is that they also argue that 80% of our product is based on petroleum. And then say, do you want our products to end? Yes. But yes. This is another thing that happens a lot of times, is that you can basically just say yes to these guys. And then they go, so much of the shit that we make is meaningless. Like, I've worked in a toy store, guys. Like, I worked in a toy store. Like, do you have any idea how much useless garbage we produce? Do you have any idea how much? Like, go to a fucking landfill. Like, we produce an ungodly amount of useless trash, right? And just the idea that, like, yeah, the free market says that little kids should have all of this useless garbage produced for them so that we can destroy their future. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, again, it's just yet again we are talking to children and people who refuse to grow up and who refuse to have serious conversations. Who are just literally like, it is totally fine to produce all of this garbage and trash because the free market said so. I'm using that voice a lot today, man, because, like, I don't know, how stupid can we get? Like, how stupid can we get? Wait, so is Jesus communist? Yes. The Swift concert hitting the news is stupid. Yeah, it shows the news stations laugh at us. Yeah. Like, they don't give a fuck. And Taylor Swift doesn't give a fuck about you. Like, the fact that Taylor Swift is a phenomenon at all. Like, what's her whole shtick? She just bitches about boyfriends. That's all. Milo, you've had treats. You've had play. Where's your toy, dude? Where's your toy? Bring up your toy. I'll play with you. But I'm doing a show right now. I'm doing a show with you, my man. Hey, no more whining. When did Chomsky say he would debate Sowell? There was some guy he was talking to. I can't give you the source, Eric. I can't say straight out, like, it was this person at this time at this moment. But definitely I, like, listened to it was, like, one of the asshole guys. Like, one of the, there's this asshole YouTuber who is really, like, a Sowell head, who believes, like, hard work and value and all that kind of stuff. Forget about the fact that my dad was a millionaire. One of these guys, and he had Chomsky on, and then right near the end of the show he said, hey, I want to set up a debate between you and Sowell. And Chomsky basically said, I mean, I'll do it, but I don't see the point. Like, I'm basically just going to say what I say to you, and then Sowell is going to say what he says, and then I'm going to say, yeah, that's obviously wrong because of the things that I say anyway. But if you like... And that's more or less my opinion. Like, a guy like Sowell is paid to be stupid, right? He's paid to be stupid on purpose. That's the thing. Like, a lot of these guys are stupid on purpose, right? Like, one of the things I actually value about somebody like Ben Shapiro is that I actually don't think Shapiro is paid to be stupid. I just think he's that stupid, right? Like, that he is so detached from the reality of what's going on in the country that he lives in that he's just stupid because of that. Whereas someone like Sowell and someone like Friedman are paid to be stupid. And they are. They're very, very stupid. And very, very dim-witted people. Right? And of course, like, now I'm seeing, like, Milton Friedman Sowell clips, and the algorithm has obviously been programmed to even take Thatcher. To even take Margaret Thatcher and send Margaret Thatcher around and have us all look at Margaret Thatcher and be like, oh wow, Margaret Thatcher, she's so right about socialism, right? Because she's like a lying demon, right? Yeti says, I sometimes wonder what your story arc will become. Yeah, me too, bud. But here's my story arc, okay? I'm going to do this, and I'm going to work the little job that I'm working. Maybe I'll go back to school to do something, and then I'll get old and then die. That's it. Like, that's all. Like one of the things that I think, like when everybody thinks about getting old and dying, right? We have internalized capitalism, and we've internalized the terror of capitalism so effectively that when people think about getting old and dying, it's like with this, I better have so much saved in my retirement. I better be ready to retire. And oh my God, all that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, nah. Like, I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter to me at all. Like, we all get old, we all die. That's it. Like, that's the story. And if I'm lucky, I'll be 80 years old doing this. And I'll be happy with that. Right? I'll be happy with that. Because the left needs its Rush Limbaugh. The left needs its Ben Shapiro. The left needs people who are actually doing this. Seriously. And right now, I don't see that guy. Right? I don't see that guy. Not really. You know, I see people who are sort of trying to be that guy, but I don't see people who are very good at it. I see well-meaning people, right? But like, so I'm just going to keep doing this, and then I'll get old, and then I'll die, just like everybody else, right? And I don't really think of my life, like thinking of your life as an individual story arc, right? As if it's a movie, I think is a fool's errand. I don't think it's a good way to think about life. It's certainly not a good way to think about your life. And it's the reason why the fascists do it, right? That one of the big like Peterson talks about it all the time, right? Is you are the author of your own fate. You are the hero. You are the hero of your own story, right? It's because Nazis and fascists tend to view their own life as the hero's journey arc. And when we watch Western film especially, the hero's journey is one of those stories, that storytelling devices and storytelling formulas that gets used a lot. Lots and lots and lots of stories follow the hero's journey and the hero's arc. And it's a very satisfying way for us to see stories and to read stories and to consume stories, right? It's very satisfying. And so we tend to view our lives on the hero's journey. And it's total bullshit. Your life is not a hero's journey, right? That your individual life is not a hero's journey. You are merely one thread of a massive mosaic that is being created through time. And if this whole thing that we are all participating in is a narrative of any sort, certainly that narrative is not defined by you. Certainly. Or me. Or anybody. No one person defines what the full picture is ever going to look like. And it's a very sort of neo-fascist way of thinking about, and not even neo-fascist, just a fascist way of thinking about your own individual life. That you are the defining characteristic, or you are the main character. No, you're not. No, you're fucking not. That you are one of many. And the ill that can befall one can befall us all. Crow Guy says, Toy Store Mastermind, yes. I don't work there anymore. They literally promoted me and then laid me off because they got rid of my position. Like, capitalist innovation, right in your face. Yeah, we don't need 1 trillion Funko Pops, absolutely. Command Genius. I just like Taylor Swift because I'm gay. You know, bro. Like, look, I don't care if you like look at someone like Taylor Swift and think like, I like her because I like her, right? That's it. There are definitely people who I like when I look at them because I like them, and that's it. So, like, straight up, I'll give you my most shameful one. Here's my big confession, you guys. And I understand if you want to drop off, you don't want to be a subscriber anymore, you don't want to donate to my Patreon anymore, right? Which, by the way, I would really appreciate if you guys were donating to my Patreon, right? That'd be really great. Even $1 helps. It'd be really wonderful. You can find it in the description. Thank you. If you can't do that, be sure to tell people I exist. Here's my most shameful one. Lauren Boebert. This bitch is crazy. She's out of her mind. I love her. I do. I love her. I think that if somehow it was to become the case that me and Lauren Boebert were in the same room with one another, I would definitely. And she was for some reason like coming over and being like all flirty with me and we were like getting on real well, I would for sure. I'd be like, you crazy mega bitch, like you psycho. Like, I would definitely say these things to her. I'd just be like, you're a crazy little chimp, aren't you? You're a crazy little chipmunk. Absolutely. I don't know why though, man. Every time she stands up and she talks, I'm just like, please, Lauren Boebert, you continue talking with your craziness. You're just insane. I have the same sort of thing with like Sarah Palin. I'm just like, Sarah, you just fucking nut. You nut job. What is blood waffling about? All right, moving on. I saw a 56-year-old guy crying because Taylor Swift to Toronto. Oy vey, man. Come on. Keep it together. Keep it together, man. Keep it together. Then we have videos of people burning 37 million tires in and use it as a way to say, look at Greta. She never say anything to these people. Only the West, of course, denying about how the West shipped those tires in those places in the first place is a way to shift the pollution to the third world. I mean, yeah, we shifted our manufacturing base to China. Of course their pollution levels go up. Like, what do you think? How do you think this works? But again, we're not really connected to any of this. Matthias, good to see you, Matthias. Of course, the news loves Taylor Swift. She is the embodiment of capitalism. Her dad bought her way into the music industry, and all her hits are written by other people like Max Martin. Yeah, right. And then she does these catchy tunes that are all about hating men, right? Like, capitalism loves that shit. It's great to be divisive right now. You see this weird trend of the Democrats getting mad at people saying both parties are the same. They are just full of cope. Have they thought about being worth voting for instead of being angry at the politically checked out, disenfranchised masses? Be worth my vote. Just because you talk nice to me doesn't mean I will vote for you. Yeah, and I mean, like, it's like, what's a famous like good cop bad cop duo? Right? Like, the Democrats are the good cop. That's all. Like, it isn't that, like, people are saying both parties are the same, but it's a misunderstanding of the meaning of what's being said to say, well, of course the Democrats and the Republicans are different. And, like, yeah, of course they're different. Like, they obviously have differences, right? But that's like saying, well, of course the good cop and the bad cop are different. He is very tall. He is shorter. Maybe this one is black. Maybe this one is white. Right? Look, the good cop and the bad cop are different. But they're allies, and they work for the same people, and they have the same goals. Right? So it's a misunderstanding. And again, I think it's a purposeful misunderstanding because we are now what we are experiencing is an era of intentional stupidity. And I think intentional stupidity is exactly the word to use, that we are intending to be stupid on purpose. And the intentional stupidity exists in order to ensure that we're constantly talking to a brick wall, right? So instead of saying, okay, we acknowledge that you guys are basically saying that both parties work for the same people and have the same initiatives and have the same goals, right? Instead of acknowledging that that's really what's meant, they're saying, well, no, of course the Democrats are different. Look, we have a black caucus, right? Like, look, of course we're different. Like, we're not being openly white supremacist. Our white supremacy is behind closed doors, like good good private citizens should do, right? Like they're happy to point out the sort of superfluous, surface differences, and then say that those are the things that matter. Whereas what everybody means when they say the Democrats and the Republicans are the same is that, well, the outcomes will be the same. Right? We understand that the outcomes will be the same because the Democrats and the Republicans are allies and they work for the same people. And so to get caught in this game of Democrat versus Republican, it's like investing your life savings in the outcome of a WWE match, which is literally fixed from the outset. Like that's essentially what our society has turned into. and what our politics has turned into. Just a WWE sports match. And one of the things that Trump really brought to the table and really brought to the fore for the political base and for everybody was an understanding amongst the political establishment that the way to gain political power in a WWE style environment is to be kind of a WWE character, right? That's how you actually attain power now. It isn't about having good policy decisions. It's not about putting forward a good platform or appealing to people's better natures or appealing to people, even people's worst natures, really. It's just about being a WWE kind of a character and walking around saying what they want you to say. So when you say things, they clap, and you're like, okay, cool. So keep saying that thing that made them clap, right? But what's so much more important is just being a character. And Trump is a character. He's got orange skin. He's got that floofy hair, right? The way he talks, his mannerisms are his. Nobody talks this way except him, right? He is a character. And do you actually think Donald Trump talks like that, like in public? Probably not. He's probably not being like, we're going to get the best services you've ever seen. These services are the best services. I've got the greatest services. Like, none of that. Like, it's a character. And you can see it within the Republican Party that, like, the most popular people now are people who understand that the best thing to do is be a character. To just make up some crazy bullshit and be that person. And so to fall into this trap of actually believing that the Democrats and the Republicans are somehow antagonists to one another, right? Like, they're the same. They work for the business class, right? That's what they do. The Infamous says, nah, I couldn't bang a MAGA chick. Yeah, dude, it's a tough one, man. It's a tough one. I think it's because I have, like, rural Manitoba roots, right? So, like, all that rural Manitoba shit, all that, like the Canadian MAGA crowd is, like, rural prairies, like, absolutely. And so, like, I'd probably be, like, I'm not happy about it. I'm not sitting here being like, yeah, sweet. But I definitely think it'd be, like, it could be a thing. Like, it'd be like me and this crazy, like, MAGA chick. It'd be wild. The Infamous, I respect Republicans and conservatives more because at least they are out in the open with their white supremacy and bigotry overall. Yeah, I say that all the time, right? That Democrats will just lie to you, right? Like, if you had to pick between somebody who was saying, I'm going to punch you in the face, and then somebody who says, I'm never going to punch you in the face, well, you're going to vote for the guy and you pick the guy that says, I'm never going to punch you in the face. But then that means that when he punches you in the face, it's going to be brutal, right? It's going to be absolutely brutal. Founder of Big Tent Republicans, Anton Lazaro, has been sentenced to 21 years in prison for sex trafficking children. Hey, there's your groomers, right? There's your groomers. Anton Lazaro... sentence. Oh, I know, buddy. Here, you want some licks? Oh, yeah, I know. Look at this. The GOP screaming its head off about trans groomers, right? Maybe you should look at your own ranks, right? Maybe you should look at your own ranks. There's your real groomers right there. A formerly well-connected GOP donor convicted of giving teenage girls gifts, alcohol, and money in exchange for sex was sentenced Wednesday to 21 years of prison on sex trafficking charges. Anton Tony Lazaro was found guilty in March by a federal jury of 7 counts involving commercial sex acts for 5 girls aged 15 and 16 in 2020, when Lazaro was 30. The charges carried mandatory minimum sentences of 10 years with a maximum of life in prison. Prosecutors had requested a 30-year sentence. They likened Lazaro to financier Jeffrey Epstein, who was arrested in 2019. Yep, he's a sex trafficker. U.S. District Judge Patrick Schultz came down the middle and had harsh words for Lazaro. He said Lazaro showed sympathy to only 2 people during the trial, to himself and Jeffrey Epstein, and the judge said he was struck by the soulless, almost mechanical nature of how Lazaro exploited the girls. It's almost as if Mr. Lazaro set up a sex trafficking assembly line. Or, to put that a different way, it's almost as though he was grooming them. Right? It's almost like he was a groomer. One of the victims called Lazaro a child predator in court Wednesday and said she continues to be impacted by his actions. I still see him in my nightmares, in my panic attacks, in men in their 30s. Putting Tony behind bars will save so many girls. Yeah, like, fuck this guy, right? And, like, you just know that the GOP knows about this shit, right? Yeah, he allegedly also has... Good for you, Tinker. I gotta tell you, man, I really, I admire your restraint, your diligence to this word allegedly. Good for you, bud. Good. You be proud of yourself. You sit there with pride in your heart for saying that word allegedly. Because God knows I wouldn't be saying allegedly. I'd be like, yeah, he's best friends with Charlie Kirk. That's who he is. Charlie Kirk loves this guy. He and Charlie Kirk once gave each other a hand job in a hot tub. Allegedly. That allegedly happened. That's an alleged thing that really happened. No, so, Command Genius, let's be clear. Noam Chomsky did not go to Epstein's Island, okay? That a guy like Epstein exists to be attached as a CIA asset. He exists in order to be connected to lots of people and to be exploited in the way that they have exploited him. That the story is that Noam Chomsky had a dinner that involved Jeffrey Epstein, and if you actually investigate what the nature of the dinner was, it was so that Noam Chomsky could get involved in a peace deal negotiation. So Jeffrey Epstein's literally sitting at the same table as Noam Chomsky at one point. And then Epstein is also the man that gets chosen in a negotiation for Chomsky to move some money around, which again is so that Chomsky can get involved in some kind of peace negotiation, right? That the choice that Chomsky is faced with when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein, yeah, that's fine. There's no... Look, Noam Chomsky, Command Genius. I'm seeing this a lot in the younger generation. The younger generation wants to toss Chomsky in the bin. You should not do that. Like, Chomsky is not a communist. In fact, I actually think that Chomsky's views on communism are pretty poorly informed, right? Pretty poorly informed, and that's what he's never written a book on communism, right? Michael Parenti is a much better source, and Parenti openly criticizes Chomsky for this. But Chomsky's domestic views of the American empire and the American media and his writings about the empire and the media are invaluable. And I am more or less of the opinion that when Chomsky dies, the establishment will do everything they can to ensure nobody reads Chomsky ever again. That will be the goal of the empire, to ensure that Chomsky is silenced, ignored, demonized, and dustbinned. That's the goal of the empire for sure. And that fact alone should be the reason why we read Chomsky. Chomsky plagiarized Parenti once. Source required, dude. I don't know anything about that. Like, Chomsky's written a lot of stuff, man. Like, he's written like 140 books. Like, he's a very well-established intellectual. And like, you have to respect him. Like, you do. Like, you have to respect him. I just think that there's this thing going on. I see it a lot where people want to pretend as though Chomsky is not an important, influential intellectual, and I think it's foolish. Like, straight up, it's one of the very few things that I can say straight up for leftist to leftist. If you are going to ignore or dustbin Chomsky, I think you're being foolish. Chomsky is important. He wrote a lot of very important things. He is one of the major figures that basically went through the 9/11 Commission and essentially pointed out that these guys are full of shit. He is one of the major voices and major writers about the war on Iraq, and the illegitimacy of that war. He's written over and over and over again, and many of his speeches are very, very important. Like, he definitely stands against the current far right, and like, you can put his videos up against people like Shapiro, Peterson, Kirk, and all these guys, and he makes mincemeat of these guys, right? Like, if you have a brain in your head and ears to listen, you realize very quickly that Chomsky's worldview is closer to the mark, for sure, because it includes things like compassion and empathy, right? So I strongly suggest, like, any of the impulses that you're feeling right now, or any of the signals that you're getting right now that tell you to ignore Chomsky, I'm here to tell you right now, that's what the empire wants you to do. Chomsky is an important intellectual. Pay attention to him. Seek him out. Read his material. You don't need to agree with everything he's ever written, obviously, but he is the most important intellectual in America today. And it isn't actually very close. Like, you have to know Chomsky. Like, you have to. Unsatiable 1776 says, "You look like Marx." Thanks, bud. I'll take it as a compliment. Dude, I just let the beard start growing, and it just kind of happened, honestly. It just did its own thing. I'd like to take credit for it, but it's just how I was born. It's just how I was born. Yeah, I know this one too. Tinker, breaking news, Sound of Freedom producer was arrested of child sex trafficking charges as well. Yeah, I knew that one. Right? Like, it's just brutal. Like, it's just crazy. Was Epstein a Mossad agent? Tinker writes, according to John Kyriakos, former CIA head in Islamabad, who went to prison for whistleblowing on torture, alleges that the Mossad suicided in New York prison. All right. Yeah, Manufacturing Consent is a very important book. Yeah, absolutely. The empire is opposed by more than just saints. Bastards hate it as well. But means we must filter intake. Trees are not the same as carbon capture. Trees eventually rot or get burned, so this is not a permanent solution. But carbon capture deteriorates too, and you got to do something with the carbon too, right? In terms of ease of use, in terms of like the actual, and trees are also connected to the system that we live in, right? Trees are actually part of our ecosystem. They're not some bullshit we're creating and jamming into the society, right? Into the environment and just telling nature to yet again deal with our bullshit, right? Yeah. Noam Chomsky is a good gateway to real leftism. Look, I said it before, I'll say it again. Noam Chomsky is the number one critic of American empire. That is his role. That is his role. His role is not to be a communist or even to provide a real perspective on where our society should be going in a structural sort of a way, right? Like Chomsky isn't actually that big in terms of envisioning what society should look like, right? He is an incredibly important social critic of empire. No question. Like, no question. And you've got to respect him for that reason alone. Like, taking a look at Noam Chomsky as a communist and saying, I don't like Noam Chomsky because he's not a communist, I think really misses the mark. Really, really misses the mark. He doesn't claim to be a communist. He doesn't really have anything to say about communism. That when he does say things about communism, it's pretty, like, offhanded and pretty obviously rooted in, like, stories his parents told him. You know, like, he's never actually done serious intellectual research on the subject of communism, but he doesn't talk about communism and he doesn't write about communism. What he does talk about and what he does write about is the empire. right? And so Chomsky is really good if you've got somebody walking around being like, America's the greatest country that ever lived. Manifest Destiny is the greatest idea ever. White America is the greatest. It's like, okay, bro, like you need to read some critiques. And you know who's providing the most solid, well-researched, well-backed critiques of American empire out there? Noam Chomsky, right? And it's not close. Like the only other person who I think can even stand in the same circle. You know what? It's Noam Chomsky, it's Chris Hedges, and it's Howard Zinn. Those three guys, I think, stand in the same circle with one another. But it's like definitely like Chomsky, and then I would say Hedges, and then I would say Zinn, right? Like in a first, second, third kind of way in my mind, because like Hedges is excellent in terms of his prescience and in terms of his storytelling is way better than Chomsky. Like he has a much sharper way of understanding humanity. And I was going to pivot to Parenti. Parenti, no, when it comes to critiquing American empire, that Parenti doesn't critique American empire so much as, this is what I love about what I just said, is that I know a bunch of people are coming out with what about this guy, what about this guy, and I love that. Let's talk about all those people. Let's do that. Who's the person that you think everybody should know about? Put it in the chat right now. Who's the person that you think everybody should know about? And who did I miss? Who did I just diss? Who did I disrespect? Come on, bring it out, because I absolutely want to talk about him. Parenti is, you know what, let me finish what I was going to say about, so Chomsky is right at the top, because he's like the grandfather of it all. Hedges connects with humanity more, right? That Chomsky is straight up just, these are the facts, this is the intellectual side of things, right? But Hedges is more like, this is the nature of humanity and the nature of the human spirit, right? And Howard Zinn, the reason why Howard Zinn isn't higher on the list is because he really only has the one text. It's a powerful text, right? Silverlight on Twitch writes, you're the greatest critic of American empire that ever lived. Oh my God, dude. What a beautiful thing for you to write. Thank you for the flattery. Don't blow smoke up my ass. I would actually, if I get to be old or in my old age, and I get to stand on the shoulders of these writers and these intellectuals, and get any kind of acknowledgement whatsoever, I would consider that to be the greatest success of my life, because I take a look at these people as my mentors, as my real mentors, as the people who really laid the groundwork. That if it's not for Hedges, if it's not for Chomsky, if it's not for Zinn, I'm not here. And I hope to be included somehow. That's all. I'll be blown away if I become noted of any sort. I'll be blown away if I become a notable speaker, talker, thinker of any sort. But if I could be part of it, that's what matters to me the most. That's what matters to me the most. So Parenti is less good. And again, it's not because I think he's bad at it. I just think that his focus isn't on it. That Parenti's critique isn't so much about the empire, but it's about the empire's critique of communism. And that Parenti actually becomes a really good source in regards to, like, Parenti is the actual gateway to communism, right? Like that if you have a person who's walking around saying, oh, communism always failed and all this, well, here's Parenti. Black shirts and reds, right? Michael Parenti's black shirts and reds for sure. And that he is the guy that he stands apart from Chomsky and Hedges and Zinn, because he is not actually writing. He's not actually writing about the empire, right? He's writing about the empire's opinions of socialist states, and then he writes about socialist states, right? But he's not actually critiquing the empire. So he stands apart from these guys. And the only time that he's willing to really critique these guys is when they talk about these socialist nations, that he then says, but you're wrong. Like, you're wrong about that. Abby Martin is absolutely up at the top threshold for sure. Her work, Gaza Fights for Freedom. Like, Gaza Fights for Freedom is no doubt in my mind required watching on the subject of Israel-Palestine. It is a masterpiece. Like, there's just, in terms of documentary, like in terms of filmmaking, in terms of any of that kind of stuff, it is a masterpiece. It's informative. It's educated. It is, the storytelling could not be better. And that film alone, Gaza Fights for Freedom, is enough to put Abby Martin. And you're right, actually. Like, Abby Martin is at least as important and is at least as seminal as someone like Howard Zinn. For sure. For sure. Jay Sakai. Why am I blanking on this guy? Jay Sakai. The mythology of the white proletariat. Yeah, I'm definitely... I gotta tell you, man. The child of Japanese immigrants. I actually don't know who this person is. 1983 book credited to Jay Sakai that looks at the history of the United States of America from an anti-imperialist and non-white perspective. The book was influenced by Maoist thought and has in turn influenced third worldists, citation needed, in particular Maoist third worldists, citation needed. Settlers argues that class system in the United States is built upon the genocide of Native Americans and the enslavement of Africans, and that the white working class in the United States constitutes a privileged labor aristocracy that lacks proletarian consciousness, arguing that the white working class possesses a petite bourgeoisie and reformist consciousness. The book posits that a colonized people of the United States constitutes the proletariat. Yeah, that's prescient. Seems accurate. Seems like a solid thing. We're going to put this guy over here. Jay Sakai. I might take a look into his work. He made Maoism third worldism. Amazing. See, this is what's beautiful about doing this, is people bring forth stuff I've never read, and it gives me the opportunity to learn more. I really like that. Like, I really value and appreciate that people come to me as something of, I guess, a trusted source. That's what I'm trying to be. I don't like to use the word an authority, but definitely like a trusted source. And so my hope is that you guys all understand that, like, I haven't read literally everything that exists. And I don't know everybody that ever exists. Yeah, no, this is brilliant. I'm definitely going to look into this. I'm going to see if my local library has this book. It'd be great if I could find an audiobook version of it, because then I'll for sure listen to it. Right? Like, I love audiobooks. That's the shit right there. That's the shit right there. Uphold John Thought. Yeah, thanks, bud. You could say Jonathought. Huh? Although that does kind of sound a little bit more porny than I like. Although I think I'm okay with that. Jonathought. Yeah. Richard Wolff. Yeah, Yanis Varoufakis is very important. Yeah, an interesting voice worth listening to for sure. Oh yeah, this is a great list right here, dude. Richard Wolff, absolutely the backbone of Western Marxism today, for sure. But, like, you got to listen to what Richard Wolff is saying. My critique of Richard Wolff is just that he doesn't ball hard enough. That's all. That he's not. He doesn't go hard enough, right? And I know why he doesn't. Right, because he knows that the Americans have a history of removing communists from the table, right? And to me, that sort of softens his approach pretty significantly. And so he ends up conceding things, and he ends up making very circuitous and long-winded arguments when asked direct questions about things, because he doesn't want to ball hard, because he knows if he starts balling hard, people are gonna not give him a seat at the table. Like, I've seen him get asked about the dictatorships in China and Russia, and he gives a very, like, soft-handed, sort of roundabout, like, not actually saying the people who are saying these are dictatorships are full of shit, right? They are not dictatorships. The Soviet Union literally had an electoral system. Current Chinese Communist Party you're elected into the body, right? Like, it's an electoral system. It's just not Westminster parliamentary democracy, right? With 4-year terms that where you have two parties who quote unquote fight against each other, but actually work for the interests of the petit bourgeoisie, right? Like, he doesn't lay it out like that because I think he's afraid. I think that he's afraid that if he starts, like, focusing on the more radical elements that exist within Marxism, sees the means of production and all that kind of stuff, that he'll just not be given a seat at the table. And that's a problem for him, right? Like, this is a guy that lived through the McCarthy period. Like, he knows. Like, he saw it. He bore witness to McCarthyism. So I really understand it. Yanis Varoufakis, he's sort of fallen off the radar a little bit. When the Greece crisis was happening, he was around a lot, and he has said a lot of interesting stuff for sure. But I haven't seen much of him recently, honestly. I should seek him out again. Michael Hudson. Michael Hudson is the economist who gave me the language that the financial system is a parasite, that it parasticizes the economy. And that Michael Hudson is a total, like, you want to talk about a guy who's a baller, right? Michael Hudson's a baller, right? And that's why he doesn't ever get platformed anywhere under any circumstances, because he balls too hard, right? Because he calls the entire financial system a parasite. Like, he's not getting a spot on CNN, right? They're not putting this guy, not even Fox, like, Fox News is not going to have this guy, right? Like, that's not going to happen. And then David Graeber, God rest his soul, right, is bullshit jobs, really important work, was one of the central organizers of the Occupy movement, probably got killed with the cancer gun, right? Oh yeah, and don't forget Tucker Carlson, of course, the greatest of all leftist figures. Content writes, Chomsky's fatal flaw is his liberal obsession with authoritarianism. He implies that power should be diminished, but digs in his heels when real action is prescribed. Yeah, that's sort of what I mean about Chomsky. He's not really good when it comes to actual solutions, right? And then also he's like, his opinion on the Democrats is like vote blue no matter who, basically. That he basically just says the Republicans are crazy, which is true. And so if we have any chance whatsoever at all, it's in voting for the Democrats, right? And he doesn't actually buy in at all into the narrative that the electoral system is failed entirely, right? Because he's not a revolutionary, right? That's the thing about Chomsky. And again, I think that Chomsky understands, and one of the critiques that you could put at Chomsky's feet is that he is not a revolutionary. But I think the reason he survives in the environment he does is because he is not a revolutionary. Like, I think guys like Chomsky and Richard Wolff are fairly prescient in this regard, that they understand that the choice is temper what you're saying, or be expunged from the system. And so Chomsky has chosen to not be expunged from the system. I think it's wise, frankly, if you want to even have a voice, right? Especially again, Chomsky's one of these guys that saw McCarthyism, right? I just don't think you go through the McCarthy period and come out the other side being like, yeah, free speech exists in America. You can say what you like. Like, I think you gotta dance the dance. Evan the Calm 1 from Twitch says capitalism is a road to nowhere. Yep, that's absolutely right, Evan. That's absolutely right. Like, they'll paint the road gold, right? They'll make it glitter. They'll make the road shine as much as they possibly can. But it leads right off a cliff, all the same, right? So it's a glittering road right off a cliff. I completely agree with you, Evan. Thanks for your contribution, bud. I'm glad to see you here. So stoked for Abby Martin's new film, Earth's Greatest Enemy. I mean, when is that coming out, Leon? Let's take a look at it right now. Because Gaza Fights for Freedom was so good. Earth's greatest enemy, Abby Martin. Official teaser. I can't play this because I'm concerned I'll get demonetized. Perhaps here. Film, blah, blah, blah. Release date. First major shoot. Okay, so it's definitely already begun. So no release date has been... Oh, hey, I could just literally go to the website. They probably have this information on the website. Here's the awful truth. Even if every person, every automobile, and every factory suddenly emitted zero emissions, the Earth would still be headed headfirst at full speed towards total disaster for one major reason. The United States military. Womp womp womp. When's this film coming out? Yeah. Release. Oh, sorry guys. Yeah, no release date. Something to keep an eye on though, for sure. Cause first of all, anything Abby Martin produces, we should be watching, right? And very clearly she's being influenced by her husband, a Iraq vet who literally confronted George W. Bush. And also, I gotta say it, many apologies to everyone. Abby Martin's a total babe, eh? I'm actually in love with her. I'm absolutely in love with her. Look at her. She's just phenomenal. Not only does she have, the heart of an anti-imperialist, right? Not only is she carrying that soul around her. Get this guy away from me. I'm sorry, Jesus. Jesus, I'm sorry. Sorry, I was simping. I was simping for Abby Martin. I'm sorry, Jesus. You're right. Amazing. Yep. Yeah, and the natives are forgotten about till this day, for sure. Dude, tell me about it. I'm from Manitoba, right? Manitoba was literally doing the 60s scoop. When the Beatles were on tour in America, we were literally kicking in people's doors and kidnapping their children. That's what was going on in Manitoba. And that systematic kidnapping of children through the RCMP and the Catholic Church, that institution continued until literally The Lion King was in theaters. I'm a little kid watching The Lion King in theaters, and this institution of kicking in people's doors and kidnapping their children still exists. And some make the argument, and it's fairly persuasive if you ask me, that institution never actually went away, that institution still exists. It just became nationalized, that it got taken away from the churches, and the state started to do it. But it's the same institution. Right? So believe me, I know all about this. And it's wild watching people who live in this sort of state of denialism about it. It's crazy to me. That's why painters like Kent Monkman are so important. That's why this guy's work is so important. Because he just lays it out. He's just straight up this is it, bud. This is it. You cannot pretend this did not happen. This is it. Also, Jay Sakai is anti-modern China. You can find it online easily. I mean, I suspect so as a Maoist, right? Maoists do stand against modern China. And they stand against Dangism, what they call Dangism. And I mean, I think it's good that modern China has critics, and it makes sense that the Maoists would be the critics of modern China, right? So, I don't mind that. I'd actually like to read. I think he would be better positioned to be a critic of modern China, right? Pat Socks hates Sakai. Well, that makes me love him even more. If the patriotic socialists hate him. Yeah, dude, like, the thing that I completely... Like, I understand the impulse. I understand the impulse for patriotic socialism. Like, I get it. I understand why people want to do it. I understand why people are doing it, right? I just think it's dumb. That's all. That, like, people want to look back on their past and think well of it. And that's it. And I just don't think you can. Like, I just don't think you can. How do you look back on the past of America and actually go, like, yeah, good. We are good people who did good things. And they basically just venerate figures like Lincoln, right? And put him in a position that he doesn't deserve. And, you know, basically try to pretend as though, well, the Civil War, chattel slavery, we fought for that, and so that means America is good. And there's something worth salvaging in America. And they don't kind of recognize that, like, even though there is truth in the idea that, like, yeah, fighting a war against chattel slavers, you know, there is something inherently true and just about that. You're basically fighting against America, right? That's what America is. Like, the soul of America exists in slavery. Like, that's just what it is. And you're not going to salvage it. You're not going to reform it, right? You're not going to change it. The only thing you can do is do what the patriotic socialists do, which is lie about it. And that's the best you can do. Jahone writes, audiobooks are great. Wish few people talked down about them. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody talk down about audiobooks, and if people are, then they are silly. I myself have recorded some audiobooks. I look around and I attempt to do audiobook work myself from time to time. I think audiobooks are great. It's a great way to get information. It's a great way if you're on the subway, right? If you're on, if you're, I don't know, doing anything, right? If you're at work, it's a great way to learn something about what's going on, right? I don't know why people are pretending as though, like, oh, if you and we actually know for a fact that there are people who just learn better through audio, through listening more than through writing or reading, right? That there are many different ways to learn, and I myself am an auditory learner. I don't learn from reading. I don't learn from like doing. I learn from listening, right? So when I was in school, I never took notes, right? I never took notes because... And, like, sometimes teachers would get really like, dude, why aren't you taking notes? Like, everybody else is taking notes. I'm like, I just, why would I need these notes? Like, what are they for? For real, like, what are they for? I every single time I would sit down and I would, like, take the notes, and then I would look at them later and I'd just be meaningless. I just wouldn't care about them. And I also found that while I was taking the notes, I wasn't listening as well. And so I learned less taking notes. So I just listened to what they said. And then when they would say, like, okay, time for a test, I'd be like, okay, well, what did that guy say? This is what he said. That's all. That's all. And so for me, audiobooks are great because that's actually how I learn, right? I learn through listening. Like, I don't, like, I've gotten good at reading because I read a lot. But if I really want to learn something, I got to listen to it. So people who are shitting on audiobooks, I just think are, like, being kind of purists. There is only one way to learn. There is only one way to get knowledge. There is only one way to do it. No, there isn't. There's a lot of ways to do it. And audiobooks are a great way to get information, to hear stories, to exist in the world. I don't be a purist. Down with Puritanism. Puritanical things. Fundamentalism exists everywhere, and we should fight it constantly. Silverlight writes, is that black communist Jesus whipping a bush or something? Because that's kind of what I'm seeing. Yeah, it does look like he's whipping George Bush. Good. As someone who believes that we should put George Bush on trial for war crimes, I think this is good. Snake writes, well, I understand why the Russian Empire peasantry was more backwards than the U.S. working class. I feel like this is out of context, so I don't know what you mean, Snake. Sorry, dude. Cotton writes, people accuse Sakai of saying whites are incapable of being revolutionary strictly because they are white. I take Sakai as an invitation to prove that claim wrong. Yeah, interesting. Like, it's tough, man. Like, I don't want to buy into the idea that there's something wrong with the whites, right? Like, I don't want to buy into this idea that I really would like to believe that, like, no, white people can come together in community and form, like, revolutionary movements for the benefit of their community. It just seems like every single time they do that, they become Nazis, you know? Like, there's something wrong with the whites, man. Like, and I don't know what it is. Like, I don't actually know what it is. I don't understand. Like, why is it that when the whites start to organize, it's whites only? And when white people start to get revolutionary, they got to get really Nazi about it. Like, it seems like that's exactly what happens, and it's really, really fucking weird. Like, it's really, really weird. And when people like this Sakai guy stand up and say, like, yeah, I don't think white people can do I'm just like, yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe. It's weird. It's weird, man. What's up with the whites? It's very strange. Eric writes, Yanis Varoufakis has his own channel, and he posts on videos on his channel on a regular basis. Hot tip. Yanis Varoufakis. Like, Yanis Varoufakis, for me, was very important for... I was calling... he came up with the term techno-feudalism. Oh, come on. Oh, hey, yet another hot take. Oh, no. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God, I just saved everybody right there. You're so fucking welcome, everybody. Yanis. Yeah, techno-feudalism. He's the guy that kind of came up with that term. I was calling it neo-feudalism. There's the channel. Subscribe. 23,000 subscribers only to Yanis Varoufakis. That's a shame. But, I mean, even I didn't know about it, so here it is. Interviewed by Russell Brand. Under the Skin episode 2020. Before Russell Brand became a far-right nut. All right, cool. Thanks, bud. I appreciate that. When was the last time he updated this? A month ago. Looks like he's updating once a month. And it looks like he's doing... Yeah, he's not updating it that often, dude. He's not updating this that often. But I'm glad to know that this exists. Because he's an important voice. And he's... I'm yet to hear this guy say something. I can't even think of a time that I've heard him say something and I've gone, that sounds fucky. Like, he's always in the ballpark. He's always saying the right stuff, right? So he's on the right side for sure. Really want to read Sato's Capital in the Anthropocene. What? Dude, I'm liking where this chat is going. We're having a real, like, build knowledge day. Let's do it. Capital in the Anthropocene. It's like a show and tell day we're having. It is a 2020 nonfiction book by Japanese academic Kohei Saito. I'm mispronouncing it for sure. Drawing from writings on ecology and the natural science by Karl Marx, the book presents a Marxist argument for degrowth as a means of mitigating climate change. Oh, yeah. It was an unexpected commercial success in Japan, selling over 500,000 copies. An English translation was published in 2023, Marx and the Anthropocene, towards the idea of degrowth communism. For sure, dude. For sure. Definitely. Yep, definitely. I'm liking this, man. I'm liking what's going on. What is Blood waffling about? Command Genius. I hate to break it to you, man. I really do. I think I got to break it down for you, bud. This is what Blood is waffling about. The unfortunate truth of being a straight man, a straight cis male, all right? The unfortunate truth, and it is a deeply unfortunate truth, is that you will be living your life. You'll just be bumbling along with whatever it is you think you're supposed to be doing. And then a female, or someone you perceive to be female, will come into your view or presence, and a signal, an idea, a thought, an urge will just come about you that will just say, you got to go. You got to go for that. You got to go over there, my man. You got to go over there. You got to talk to that lady. You got to get to know that lady. You got it. You got to do it. You got to do it. And as you grow older, you figure out how to negotiate with that urge and that thing, right? And it's just with you. It's just true, right? I think that one of the things that is so annoying about the discourse that exists within the, like, quote-unquote battle of the sexes is that this simply is not seriously discussed. And if it is seriously discussed, it is denigrated really hard. It is treated as like a flaw or as a shitty thing. You get called a pervert, right? All that kind of like dirty shit. When in reality, it's like a 1,000-year-old, like hundreds of thousands of years old biological urge that's instilled inside of you that just comes up and goes, and you just got to deal with it, right? You just got to deal with it. And so what I like to do is acknowledge it and kind of make fun of it. It's kind of a coping mechanism, right? Because I refuse to live in a world where denying it, like, I have no interest in denying it. Like, what because that seems to be where we live now. That we're living in a space where I'm supposed to just deny it. I'm supposed to be like, oh yes, of course, I do not have urges. I am not suddenly hit with an unwavering attraction to certain people of what I perceive to be the female persuasion. That certainly doesn't exist. No, we never talk about that. And if you do, you're a dirty pervert. No, go get fucked. Like, if you're actually sitting there thinking that, then fuck you. Full stop. We're not friends. Go fuck yourself. Like, this is my reality. Like the left, or the liberals really, like to get in on like this. I'm just living my reality. Well, fucking me too. Here's my lived reality. You know what my lived reality is? I think Abby Martin is a babe. I think that she's a very, very attractive person. I would love to take her out for dinner and show her a very lovely time, without a doubt. No two things about it. And if that embarrasses you, then that's your problem. Go deal with that. And unfortunately, and I really do mean unfortunately, like, I'm deeply, like, I myself am embarrassed about this one. I would do the same for Lauren Boebert, without a doubt, right? I would talk to her and I would wine and dine her. I'd take her dancing, right? Absolutely. I'd love to see if me and Lauren Boebert had a love connection. I'd love to see that, right? Sorry, man. Like, it's how it is. Right? And if you're gonna come at me with like, oh, you're a weirdo, or you're this kind of stuff, I'm just gonna be like, nah. Like, nah. No, I'm not. I'm just willing to talk about it. Right? Every single straight cis man that exists in the world has this experience. Right? They've just sort of found out that the best way to avoid bullshit in their life is to just pretend as though it doesn't exist. Certainly don't tell other people about it. Right? Certainly don't openly talk about it on a YouTube channel. Right? I'm not going to deal with that. I'm not going to do that. That's not how it's going to go for me. Right? So, welcome. Sexuality exists. We should talk about it. Sex is actually my third favorite subject to talk about. It's spirituality, like the nature of our existence, and then it's politics, and then it's sex. But unfortunately, every single time I start talking about that, you dirty pervert, Oh, you're a straight white man who's talking about sexuality? You must be a dirty, dirty, filthy pervert. And then, and literally everybody else can be like, oh, look at the new sex toy I've got. Yes, girl boss queen. But if I'm just like, I find that woman to be attractive and I'd like to take her out for dinner. You dirty, dirty man. She's also a MILF. Can I say that? Is that okay? She is a mother, Tinker, right? She just had a kid recently. So I think you are technically okay. Like, it's a technically accurate thing to say. You are technically correct. The best kind of correct. I don't know what you're boo-hooing about here, Ligon to Z, but I agree. Sekai isn't perfect, no one is. Cotton writes, I find it deeply suspect that white Marxists get super pissed over Sakai, which is just stop giving the man his point. Yeah. Look, I don't mind the Maoists at all, honestly. Like, I know that, who is it? It's you, Command Genius. Yeah, you push on me on Maoist things all the time. I think it's important to have critics. Like, that's a major difference between me and a lot of other people, right? I think it's important that there is somebody who is saying, no, we should be criticizing this. I'm not on board with this. Let's criticize this, right? Like, that's essentially who Marx is, right? He's a critic of capital. And I think that if you are unwilling to have a critic in your midst, or if you're unwilling to listen to a critic, then I think you're falling into a fundamentalist trap. Oh, Gat, I missed you, bud. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well on Twitch. Brian Berletic. There's a name that is ringing a bell. This is a fun one, guys. I'm having a good time. I hope you guys are having a fun time. Oh yeah, the new Atlas. Yeah, the new Atlas for sure. You know what's funny is that I have subscribed to this guy, and I know about him. I just never encounter his shit. He just never comes up on my feed. I think I got to start seeking this guy out on purpose. Like, it's stuff like this, right? Western's offensive remains stalled. Western media begins admitting failures. Yeah. Like, I have put together that the Ukrainian, like, what's called the counteroffensive or all that has not worked. Like, I've kind of put that together on my own through the scraps of information that I look at. Like, I don't take that much time. I don't pay that much attention to the Ukrainian war, right? Because, like, unless something serious happens, like, my opinion is that unless something genuinely serious happens, it is all just noise, right? Like, and I'm dead serious. When the Wagner group charged off towards Moscow, I was just like, internal petty squabbling. Like, to me, that's not a major moment. It's not a defining moment of what's going on. The Ukrainian counteroffensive I never considered to be serious. The only time I ever would have taken it serious is if it worked, right? But it wasn't going to work, and I don't see how it could have worked, right? Like, at no point was I sitting here being like, that's definitely a significant threat to the Russians. Like, what are you talking about? Like, the Russians can literally, we just sent 20 tanks. Those 20 tanks are going to be the deciding factor. The Russians can see those tanks coming from miles away and can send jets overhead unopposed. They could just send jets overhead and shoot missiles at those tanks that they can see from miles away. And you know what happened? That's exactly what fucking happened. That they rolled the tanks in, and they got fucking bombed. All of the equipment, what is happening right now is that all of the equipment that's getting sent is all the obsolete shit that's just sort of sitting in places right now. That they've got like a warehouse where they've got this obsolete gear or these tanks that they don't make anymore. They're like the old version. And they're just like, yeah, okay, let's just send those over to Ukraine. They're just sitting gathering dust anyway. We don't make them anyway. Just send them over to Ukraine anyway. And then when they get into Ukraine, you know what happens? The Russians bomb the warehouse. The Russians shell the area. Right? The Russians have air superiority. Right? They're not just like gonna let a bunch of missiles get to the front line. Like they're bombing the shit out of Ukraine. And like the Western media is not going to tell you about it. Cuz why would they? And so unless something significant happens, right? So unless the Russians actually push in towards Kiev, unless the Ukrainians actually push into Luhansk or Donetsk, right? Or Odessa or something, it's all just noise. Like, it's all just petty squabbling and diplomats making bullshit and generals lying to you about nonsense. Right? So I'm glad that this guy's doing his job, but the truth is that I just don't think that we need to pay that much attention, because the story is set. Right? The story is set, and unless something changes, like, there's just no reason to take the time to try to be a prophet about it. Like, it just seems to me to be a waste of time. But put this on while you're gaming or something, I guess. Like, did anyone really actually believe that this offensive was going to do anything? Like, I never once thought that, the Ukrainians are going to break the Russian line. Absolutely. Like, what? What's convinced you of this? Here's a guy, 239,000 subscribers. Now we're talking. Right? I'm glad to see that. Although it's like literally half the amount that like gamer channels have, but such is the way. Such is the way. I'm loving this picture, man. I'm loving this picture. What makes him so special is he continuously shows different CIA policies, and I'm saying the actual CIA documents, and then shows the real world results of these policies. Who are you talking about? Oh, New Atlas. Yeah, Brian Berlatic. Yeah. Journalist with a lot of reporting in Asia, Ukraine. I'm super glad this guy exists, without a doubt. Without a doubt. And maybe I should dig a little deeper, right? Maybe I should dig a little deeper into this guy. Nathan Rich is a white dude living in China who defends China. He is useful. Maybe not as active as I would like, but he lives and speaks. There's another guy that does that. Oh, God. I'm blanking on his name. I want to say, like, Dennis, but that's not right. It's going to kill me. Cotton. You know what? I don't care. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit at all. You gonna make me feel bad about being a straight man? How dare you, sir? How dare you? You could be the dad that stepped up for Bobert. I could be Bobert's daddy. That's right. What? I don't give a shit. I don't care at all. I find it in order. Daniel Dumbrill. That's the guy. Daniel Dumbrill. Yeah, I love Daniel Dumbrill. Like, he's very good. He's very good. I find that in order to get more feed for channel like Brian's, I need to switch the subscription to a higher level than the default setting. Weird. What I like about Berletic is that he actually uses pro-Ukrainian and pro-NATO sources and arrives at the truth anyway. Yeah, that's the best way to do it. That is the best way to do it, right? Because if you like, it sort of flows into one of the core reasonings that I have, which is just accept the other side, the opponent's argument, right? Just accept the opponent's argument as true. And most of the time, when you accept the opponent's argument, you can still just say, so what? Like that, there's something kind of funny that happens in a lot of debates and a lot of arguments where the other side is like dead convinced that if I can just convince you of this point, then that's the that's the ultimate truth of what's going on. And like most of the time, I can really just go, oh, okay, let's just say that's true. So what? And it just completely takes the air out of the whole thing. It just completely just deflates the entire thing. Because so many times people recognize that the hill they're dying on is not that important at all. Doesn't actually matter, right? And then, and it's the same sort of idea with using Western sources. That like, there does come a point where like, the West can only bullshit for so long. Like there needs to be like internal organization, right? Like there's a difference between bullshitting the populace and bullshitting your soldiers, right? There's a difference between bullshitting the populace and bullshitting like your generals. That at some point someone does need to stand up and be like, hey, grass is green, right? Like that you can't drive tanks through mud. Right? That at some point, someone's got to stand up and tell the truth, or else it'll lead to disaster. And what we're finding out, especially in the Ukrainian conflict, is that a lot of times I think the West is falling for its own shit. Like I really do think that there's some truth to this. That the West and the propaganda system of the West kind of pumps the tires of the propaganda system for the populace with this sort of understanding that like we gotta create a narrative, right? That they create a narrative. But I think like the upper brass, like the generals and the politicians and the military industrial complex CEOs and all this, I really do think that when it comes to the Ukrainian conflict, they've sort of drank their own Kool-Aid. That they have actually bought in to this idea that, oh yeah, we're going to beat these Russians and we're going to push them back, and like and it's just like total bullshit. It's like total nonsense. One of the things that I know is definitely going on now is William Burns. William Burns, who was at one point the ambassador to Russia, who writes a document called Niet Means Niet, where he basically said, every single Russian I've spoken to at every single level of their society has said that us getting involved in Ukraine is the brightest of red lines, and that we cannot get involved in that. And every single, and he sends this correspondence, and it looks that the entire administration and the entire system completely ignored him, and basically said to this Russian ambassador, we don't care, we're going to do it anyway. Well, this Russian ambassador, William Burns, becomes the head of the CIA, right? So now the head of the CIA is a guy who used to be the Russian ambassador, who said, don't go into Ukraine. And now, very recently, like within the last month, he's become part of Joe Biden's cabinet. So now you've got a guy who said, don't go into Ukraine, don't fuck around in Ukraine, it'll start a war with the Russians. And now he's part of the cabinet of the administration that's responsible for starting a war with the Russians. Like, I hope that he was walking in the room being like, okay, you shit on the road, you better clean it up. Like, you shit the bed here, you got to change the sheets. Like, how are we going to resolve this? You're going to eat shit. That's what you're going to do. Because that's exactly what America is going to do, right? America's not just going to walk away from this, right? Well, that's exactly what America will do, actually. America will just walk away from it because that's what America's always done, right? America just walked away from Afghanistan. America just walked away from Vietnam. America just walks away from the shits that it creates, right? That's how it rolls. That's what it does, right? But if you think it's just going to walk away from it and have everybody just go, that was a good and reasonable thing that the Americans did there. What a reasonable and good thing that they did there. You're sorely mistaken. The Americans are going to eat shit over Ukraine for a long fucking time, man. Like a long fucking time. And the Ukraine offensive is different. My perception of what has happened on the world stage because of America's actions in Ukraine is that the entire rest of the world now sees that America will attack its own. That they cannot be trusted. That, like, before what the Americans were doing in the Middle East and in Africa and all this kind of stuff, nations like China and Russia, India, could all be like, yeah, I mean, scummy warfare, imperialism, but, you know, like, every organization has enemies, and maybe they're shitting the bed and you can critique them, but, you know, they have enemies and they're fighting those enemies, and they sound dumb, but, you know, that's the entire history of Europe and the West. So, you know, kind of normal, right? And we can kind of negotiate that. There's a type of predictability to it, right? There's a form of predictability to it. But the Ukrainian situation really shows that, like, the West is willing to destroy Westerners and willing to destroy Western infrastructure and willing to betray Westerners on behalf of capital. And it looks psycho. Like, it looks totally psycho. Oh, you missed one of my comments. The Yanis Varoufakis channel you found wasn't the channel you were referring to. Oh, it's one of these, eh? It's one of those. Here. And let's go. Oop, nope. Democracy in Europe. Okay, subscribe. Democratize Europe. Sounds like a good idea. Silverlight. We got a commenter in Twitch. I want to say Jello Toaster, although it's spelled with a G. Good to see you, bud. I hope you're here to be beautiful, man. I hope that we can have a good conversation, because and this is not a bad start. Are you really a communist? Yes, I am. I've read the works of Marx. I've studied the history of socialism. Oh, the name is German. Okay, my bad, bud. Sorry. So I definitely won't be able to pronounce it correctly. But in any case, yes, I am a communist. I come from the communist perspective. I argue in favor of communism. Fundamentally, my position is such. Everyone should have access to food and shelter. No excuses. Literally, food and shelter is just freely given from the society, and we should organize the society in order to successfully implement that policy. And that everything else sort of falls out from that. That's more or less my position. And I find that the communists and the history of communism is the strongest that argues most strongly in favor of that idea. There we go. When you're a communist, you like democracy? Of course I like democracy. That the Soviet Union and the current Communist Party in China are both democratic. That they're not Westminster parliamentary democracies, so they're not like German democracy, right? But they are democratic. And they make their decisions through councils and through democratic decision-making, right? It's just not like the American democracy or Westminster parliamentary democracy. And really, when you actually think about it, communists are always arguing in favor of democracy, right? What every single business that exists in capitalism is a top-down totalitarian dictatorship. And my entire point is that we should have voting rights in our businesses, that businesses should be organized to be democratic, and that you should be able to vote for your managers, and you should be able to vote for your CEOs. You should be able to vote for the people who are the decision-making. None of that exists in our structures, right? Yeah, Stalin was elected. He attempted to step down 4 times, and the democratic system didn't allow him to, basically. They just said, nah, you're going to be our leader, bud. Like, the idea that Stalin was a dictator is false. It's false on the face of it. That he was elected through an electoral system, and that's just the truth of it. Even the CIA acknowledges it. Thanks for being polite, by the way, bud. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that more than anything, because sometimes people come in here and they ask the questions that you are asking, and they're very rude. You're being very kind. I appreciate that, bud. Yeah, Snake is dead on the money with this, man. De-dollarization alone will completely change the reality of my generation, in my opinion. I think that's absolutely right. Like, even if the dollar declines by 10%, it's going to be a big deal. And serious things are going to come our way, man. Serious things are going to come our way. Hey, Box, good to see you, bud. A vision for the future is dozens of large nuclear reactors, powering carbon capture, burying unfathomable qualities of solid carbon deep in the ground, literally undoing years of pollution in days. Yeah, I mean, it looks as though the conservative solution, and when I say the conservative solution, I mean the solution that's coming out of conservative governments, is nuclear. And I got to tell you, I'm somewhat on the fence about my thoughts about nuclear. That as we're desperately reaching for solutions, there is I have a sense of like why not nuclear, right? You know, we'll see how that works out. Conton says, anyone else actually feel like Africa is the flashpoint? France will be confronted with the need to invade Niger for the uranium, and they're going to meet Wagner there. That's just explosive. Yeah, I think that Africa is the stage, right? And I think the Africans know it. Like, that's the thing, is that I think the Africans are well aware that they are caught in the middle of a pretty major conflict right now. And if you look at the most recent summit that just happened, most of the African nations are siding with Russia and creating military agreements with Russia. That's a huge problem. That's a huge problem for the West. That if you are living in Europe and you are living in America or Canada or Australia, it is a massive problem for you that most of the African nations are creating military agreements with Russia. Like, you should be desperately afraid of that, because all of those resources are going to be flowing towards the east, not the west, right? We're going to get cut out of that stuff. And the only way we're going to be able to assert ourselves is through war. But we're showing in Ukraine right now that all we seem to know how to do is lose wars. That's a toaster, man. That is a great comment right there. Communism is in Heart of Iron 4. Really good for the economy. You're goddamn right it is, my man. Look, when the Soviets took over, they took an agrarian, feudal country, right? Literally run by kings, Tsars, and in the space of a single generation, created the most powerful economy that existed in the world at the time. Mikhail, good to see you. Yo-Yo Gaming, good to see you, bud. Like, absolutely. I know the game. Of course I do. I'm a gamer, bud. I love games. I'm actually like super pumped for Baldur's Gate 3. When I finish this stream today, I'm like literally going whole hog into Baldur's Gate 3. I'm so pumped. I'm so pumped. I'm not really like a huge Heart of Iron 4 fan, because I do think that Heart of Iron 4, I'm somewhat cynical about that game, because I think that the Heart of Iron series has been cynically created in order to sell video games to Nazis. Like, and I'm not saying that that's you. Absolutely, I'm not saying that that's you. But I just think that the Nazism that exists in Heart of Iron, in the Heart of Iron series, is very purposefully made to look really cool. And is very clear to me that I think that Paradox as a studio has said, you know, we really could sell this game to a type of player and a type of person who wants to engage in a type of role-playing and a type of narrative gameplay. You know, what if the Nazis won World War II, right? So that's more or less my takeaway from the Heart of Iron series. And yeah, every guy can play this game. Yeah, that's why. And so I've never actually played it, but I've seen it played, and I've played a lot of Paradox games. And I like Paradox. I think that Paradox as a game development studio is very strong. I think that they have really helped develop the 4X space in a really successful way. Yeah, and like, Toaster writes, it's funny to conquer the world, haha, right? No, you're right. Like, I've played Civilization. What do you do in Civilization? You conquer the world, right? Like, it's nothing new there. I just do think that it is, like, we knew that this was coming. Like, we as gamers knew that there was going to be a moment when a video game let you play as the Nazis, right? That it was only a matter of time until, like, a Civilization game was going to come out, and one of the leaders that you were allowed to pick would have been Adolf Hitler. It is only a matter of time until you can pick Joseph Stalin as a leader. And so that's essentially what Heart of Iron 4 has done. And so I'm not aggressively against it. I just am like, I'm against Nazism, you know? I don't like Nazis. I don't like Nazis. Oh, yeah, but doesn't... this is an interesting one. I should ask you, Toaster, as a German. Can you play Heart of Iron 4 in Germany? Because I was under the impression that Germany had pretty strong anti-swastika and anti-Nazi legislation. You can. Like Wolfenstein, for example, is a game that got banned in Germany. So can you... Why is it that Heart of Iron 4 is fine to play in Germany, but a game like Wolfenstein is not? Oh, it's all censored. Oh, okay. So you can play the game, but it's censored. Okay, got it. Yeah. Sort of a petty distinction, but yeah. Makes sense. I understand. Oh man. What a crazy period of German history, man. What a crazy time for all of that. Man, here I've got a German in the chat, right? I don't really want to, like, openly shit on Nazis in front of you, dude, but, like, I am against Nazis as a communist, right? Like, it's not my favorite group of people, straight up. Ugh. Yo-Yo Gaming, you asked a question before, and I want to ask it. Do you respect religion as a communist? I have a kind of a unique, not unique, certainly, but, like, I don't hear it articulated very often, which is that I think that religion comes out of people. That there are religious institutions that I stand against 100%. But the concept of humans existing in a religious space, like, I don't say spiritual, I don't. Like it's not spirituality, it's religion, okay? Just because you're trying to get away from the Catholic Church doesn't make you spiritual. It makes you religious. You just hate these pedophiles. That's what you are. That we don't know why we're here. We are just randomly generated into the world. It doesn't make any fucking sense. And we are afflicted with emotions, thoughts, feelings, memories that we attempt to deal with. And the way that you deal with it is religion. Like, whether you want to call it that or not, that's what it is. And it just comes out of us. It's just what we are. It's just who we are, right? And that it's very sort of fashionable today to shit on the concept of religion. But you can't. Like, you can't. Like, if you want to relabel everything, you go ahead and do that. That's fine. If that's your coping mechanism, if that's what you have to do, if you just got to go around and relabel everything, then you go ahead and relabel everything. And I'm not going to fight you on that at all. But please understand that's what you're doing. Right? It's all the same shit. It's all the same ideas. It's all the same thoughts. You're just relabeling it. And so I think that religion supersedes almost everything else. It's intrinsically tied into the human experience. And you can't get away from it. And if you think that you are getting away from it, then there's something in your life that you're super religious about and you just don't want to admit it. It's a part of being human. Like it or not. Dealing with the nature of your mortality, dealing with the nature of your existence, dealing with the nature of reality. Why do you exist? Why are you here? What is your purpose? What if anything is your connection to the universe? One of my favorite questions to ask is, do you think the universe is alive? Do you think that you are part of a larger entity that is itself conscious and has its own awareness? These are important intrinsic religious questions that I think that the religious conversation has gotten really bogged down by fundamentalists on the religious side, and then the atheist scientists on the other side, who sort of miss each other, right? And I think they miss each other in the conversation because neither of them are actually reading the works of Newton. Like, Newton was a theist. He was also an intelligent scientist. And he is the Rosetta Stone between those two groups. That he believed in God. And he believed in the concept of God. But he would look at what the modern day scientists and Western scientists think of this concept of God, and he would mock them. He would be like, what are you even talking about? This has nothing to do with anything we're talking about. And then he would also take a look at the fundamentalists and be like, oh, you guys are lunatics. Like, you disrespect the creation and the power of God. Right? That what the modern day fundamentalists, and this is religious fundamentalists on all sides, what they are fundamentally saying is our understanding of God supersedes God's understanding of God. That what is real and tangible and observable, i.e. what is actually the nature of creation and the nature of God, is irrelevant. What we have previously written, what man thinks of God matters more than what God thinks of God, and what is observable and real. So it's a deep insult. And then on the other side of it, on the secular atheist side of it, their caricature of what God is has turned them into morons and has made them fundamentally incapable of grappling with what might actually be going on, because they refuse to acknowledge that the giant spaghetti monster isn't what we're talking about and has nothing to do with the subject. And like, we've literally wasted an entire generation of scientific thought on this dumb idea that God is a man in the clouds, and oh my God, look at these fundamentalists. Like, no. You are living in a gigantic system that is being perpetually created and is around you all the time. Do you think it's conscious? And nobody's even thinking about that. And if people are thinking about it, it's a very small group of people. And to me, that's central. It's central to the core of placing yourself as a human in this reality, is to actually think for a moment, oh shit, am I just like one conscious entity within a larger conscious body? And even if you're not, it's worth the contemplation. It's worth the thinking. Because this is how Newton thought. This is what Newton was thinking about when he discovered calculus, when he made some of the most the largest advancements in the way that we think. People like Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein was a theist too, right? So I think that if we actually want to get back to our roots, and I think we got to get back to our roots as thinkers and as people who exist in the world, then one of the things for us to do is to actually think about the world from this perspective. To stop thinking about the world as if it's a dead rock for us to rip apart and exploit. And start thinking, is this thing alive? Is this an entity unto itself? Are we fucking around with forces that we do not understand? Shouldn't we maybe try to understand this thing before we blow it up for resources so that we can have fucking iPhones and shit? Like, Like, do you think maybe it's important to contemplate the idea that that mountain you're about to blow up might actually be part of something that's alive, that might actually have something to say about that? Like, I think we're acting very flippantly. I think we're acting very foolishly. And I think we're going to pay for it in big ways, for a very simple reason. If you're living on the back of a monster and you're just walking around blowing it up, thinking it's inert and dead, well, then you're not going to see when the monster fucking eats you. You're just not going to see it coming because you don't even think it's a monster. And believe me, the Old Testament God is coming back. Anyway, that was a big rant. So yes, I do respect religion as a communist. I just don't think of religion in the way that I think a lot of people think about it. Silverlight writes, I remember one of my favorite games growing up as a kid was Secret Weapons of the Luftwaffe. Germans had the coolest planes. Well, Germans were the first to get jet fighters on the field, man. Like, the German jet fighters were no joke. Even included some experimental models, like the Go-229, a literal flying wing. Awesome. Toaster writes, do you accept other political opinions? What are those political opinions, my man? Because, like, if you start saying things about the Jews, I'm gonna get pretty uppity with you pretty fast. But I'm willing to have a discussion. I'll put it that way. You put something down and we'll talk about it, okay? It's as simple as that. That's how this works. You put down something, I respond. And, all right. Well, don't know. We'll find out. What I tell you guys, my number one favorite thing to talk about is religion. It's something that I will go off about for a long, long time. I've actually got to reel it in. Isaac, Russia and China are not a democracy like the U.S., where the elite rules and put power whoever they want, while the working class votes for their picked candidate but don't have a voice. Yeah, exactly, Isaac. Exactly. That's actually a better way of saying it than I say it. I should steal this. Eric writes, my only issue with nuclear is the nuclear waste. Yeah, there's always something, right? The biggest critique that I saw from those who study nuclear energy is that it's just a non-issue. We don't have the funding. I'm like, dude, we're still spreading the waste in a landfill. And if we mass produce the energy, we have to bury all of that. And there is so much land. Yeah, I mean, but I have heard this argument, and there's something to it, which is that, yes, it creates nuclear waste, but that nuclear waste is not carbon. That the problem is that we're putting carbon in the atmosphere. And that nuclear solves this problem, and that we are, so it's a non-carbon solution to, like, if you're talking about decarbonization and decarbonizing your power system, that's a way to do it. Yes, it creates nuclear waste, but that's beside the point. That is a problem to be solved. That problem is better than the problem it solves. That's the way to say it. That it solves a problem, and in that solving of that problem, yes, it creates another problem, but that other problem is a better problem to solve than the problem it solves. I'm saying this so fucking stupid, dude. I'm saying this like a high person. Like, I sound like a stoner right now, where I'm like, the problem that it solves is solving the problem, so it solves a problem better than the problem that it solves. But it is actually true. Like, it's solving a problem, and yes, it creates a problem, but that problem is a better problem to have than the problem that it solves. Nah, I just can't think of a better way to say it without making it sound stupid as shit. That's all. John, off topic, would you be willing to watch the show Warrior? I watched Breaking Bad. You asked me what I think. I want to see what you think of this show. A Bruce Lee action flick, but it has everything. Class struggle. I mean, you got me with Bruce Lee, my man. Like, you don't need to pump up. Like, you don't need to convince me too hard to watch Bruce Lee Warrior. An American martial arts crime drama television series. It's an original concept and treatment by Bruce Lee. It's based on an original concept and treatment. Got it. I'm like, Bruce Lee's dead though, right? Like, Bruce Lee's dead? Set in the Tong Wars in the late 1870s San Francisco, the series follows Assam, a martial arts prodigy who immigrates from China in search of his sister, only to be sold to one of the powerful Tongs in Chinatown. Cool. How's the martial arts? I think that's really the bottom line for me, bud. Like, is the martial arts like this over-the-top Marvel shit? Or is it like good martial arts? Hey, Nut Milk, how you doing, bud? Every time you're in town, man, I'm just like, I get to say Nut Milk for no reason. Fantastic. I don't think it's a good idea for communists to shit on religion. Yeah, and I mean, I also think that it's largely misunderstood. Like, I think that when Marx is writing about religion and when it's writing about it, it's basically saying institutionalized religious organizations. Like, I don't think it's actually saying much about the human experience of religion, right? Like, and I myself am again, like, the Catholic Church should be shut down. Like, it should be. We should take all its assets and redistribute it into the public and shut it down. We should do away with the Catholic Church. It's essentially a pedophile cult at this point, right? It should be gone. We should literally seize the Vatican and house the homeless there. That's what we should use it for. And get rid of these pedophiles and their weird little cult. Toaster writes, why don't I like capitalism? But that's a big-ass question, right? Like, capitalism as a system it only exists due to the exploitation of workers. What capitalism is defined by the relationship between the employer or the owner and the worker or the serf or the slave. That the owner has control of the means of production, has control of businesses, assets, and the worker has nothing, and only has their labor to sell to the ownership class. This means the worker has no power, and also doesn't have access to even the value he creates. That if the worker actually had access to the value he created, that the capitalist system, that by itself would collapse the capitalist system. So the capitalist system exists as a system of exploitation. It exists as a way to extract wealth from the public and give it to people who do none of the work, right? Like, capitalists don't provide value. They don't do work. And especially when we get into this advanced form of capitalism, where you literally have people who just own all of the assets and hire people to do all the work for them. And so they don't even need to plan things, right? They're just involved in planning because they got nothing else to do, more or less. And they're making a big fucking botch of it. And of course, capitalist proponents will often say, like, oh, but look at all the wealth and the prosperity and everything that exists around. To which my response has steadily become, yeah, because we stole all of it. Right? We stole all of it. Like to me, being a proponent of capitalism at this point is very much like saying, is very much like being a train robber, robbing trains, taking the wealth from the trains, and then saying the best way to build an economy is through train robbery, right? Like, capitalists enslaved the enslaved the African continent. Right? They enslaved the First Nations people, committed a genocide against First Nations people, stole the land of America. Right? That's how they got their wealth. Right? So basically, what you're saying, if you're saying, like, look at all the wealth that capitalists create, you mean stole. Right? You mean stole. Because that's what they did. Straight up. And to deny that at this point is a type of lunacy, which is the right wing's entire position. right? To just deny the existence of colonialism, to deny the existence of genocide, to deny the existence of the slave trade, to deny all that, right? Even worse now, they're starting to say, oh, slavery was actually good. There were good things that came out of slavery, actually. And everybody was doing it anyway. And and so I don't like capitalism, because every single time we've had an advancement in the society, every single time there's been some kind of concession, it's because communists, socialists, and trade unionists got together, organized massive strikes and massive political shows, and forced the hand of the capitalists. That they put the capitalists in the position where they said, concede, right? Give us concessions, or we'll just come in there and take power, and you'll lose the means of production. That's the New Deal, right? That's the post-World War II era, across Europe as well. And so I'm not really in favor of a system that you have to constantly organize massive strikes in order to get something done. I'm not in favor of a system that intentionally and purposefully withdraws labor, or intentionally and purposely withholds resources, because that's how the capitalists work. That they produce all of those resources and then they withhold those resources, unless you do what? Sell your labor. So it's a wage slave system. I'm not in favor of a wage slave system. I think we can do better. I think we should do better. It's just, the question is, are we smart enough? Are we smart enough to do better? I don't think we are, by the way. I don't think the West is ready. I think the West is going into a balkanization period. And maybe certain sections of the American continent will begin to see a reason as the ideology of the West degrades. But we'll see. So that's the tip of the iceberg, my man. Stick around and you'll see a lot more. Corvo Blanco Nero. I gotta say this, man. What a great name this is. Corvo Blanco Nero. What a beautiful name. Corvo Blanco Nero. I hope that's your real name. That'd be really great. What country do you believe is really socialist? I think the Chinese. I think that China is actually a socialist country. I think that their endeavor to move towards communism is genuine. I think that China is. I think that China is honest about what it's trying to do, and I think it's largely misunderstood by the West. That the West has come to believe that because China opened its borders up to any amount of capitalist foreign investment whatsoever, that it's become a capitalist country. And I just don't think that the evidence is there to show that that's the case. I think that you can also see a place like Vietnam. You can see Luna Oi on YouTube for more information on that. And then I'm hesitant to say... That's funny. Command Genius said basically the same thing that you did, Corvo, which I know I said it. Bianco with the I. It's Italian, not Spanish. Yeah, bud. I'm from Manitoba, like from rural Manitoba. I grew up in a hometown of like 16,000 people. So I don't know the difference that well, honestly. So I apologize. I do. I apologize to you. I'm so sorry for my complete and utter mispronunciation. It's just a great name. That's all. That's all. China, after the reforms of Xiaoping, resembles more Italian corporatism than socialism. It means white and black crow, so it's not a name, unfortunately. Well, whatever. It's great. This is what's interesting about China, right? Is that the proof is going to be in the pudding, and that pudding is going to be shown in the next 20 years. That they are obviously of a mind of improving the quality of their life of their own citizens. They're obviously of a mind to confront real social issues and real social problems that actually exist. They are I think that the number one thing that the Chinese Communist Party has going for it is that they are responsive to their own people. I think that's the big thing for me. That we can have kind of a big debate about certain aspects of it, but for me, I think the thing that that really gives a lot of credibility to the Communist Party in China is that it's very obvious that they respond to their own people. Like that one of the great things I've ever heard about the Chinese Communist Party is in America you can change the party but never the policy. In China, you can't change the party but you can change the policy. That the Chinese communists have they understand that they've got to respond to their public in order to maintain power and in order to continue ruling. And the populace is basically saying things like, hey, we'd like poverty to be over. Hey, we'd like you to be confronting things like climate change. Hey, we'd like an improvement in our education system. And the Chinese Communist Party is the one that's going, oh, okay, sure, okay, let's take a look at it. Oh, okay, sure, okay. And then when things happen and it doesn't work or it fails, the Chinese Communist Party goes, oh, yeah, okay, we got to change that. Oh, okay, that didn't work. Oh, okay, what are we going to do? Right? So I think that Westerners largely misunderstand what's happening in China. I think that we take snapshots of China and put those snapshots in the dimmest possible light that we can on purpose, because I think we're incentivized to do so, and I think our owners are incentivized to do that to us, because they don't want us to believe that there is another way to rule the society. Like we're literally living under a ruling class that says capitalism is the end of history. That this system is the best system that exists, and it's human nature. Like these are the arguments that the ruling class actually make. And if you can see that there is another system operating under different principles, having better outcomes, then you can obviously say that's all bullshit, obviously. Right? And I think that that's basically what China puts to the fore. And so my recommendation to you is stop listening to capitalists' opinions of socialist countries. China calls itself socialist with Chinese characteristics. It's lifted something like 800 million people out of poverty over the last 20 years. Like, there are real serious things. There are real serious things that have happened in China that I think you can't bullshit. And like, they're so impressive that the capitalists try to take credit for it, which is a joke, right? It's a total joke. Every single time I hear a capitalist say, well, the good things that happen in China is because of capitalism, what a fucking joke that is. If what happened in China happened here in America, you would have a small handful of billionaires and everyone would still be in poverty. And how do I know? Because that's what they're doing right now. That's the system they're creating now. So, Nutmilk says, hey, Kami, I'm sure you've already covered it, but where do you see the current situation in Niger heading? Two things can happen. You know what, man? No, I'm going to call it. I'm pretty happy with calling it now. I think that Niger is setting itself up to be the kind of new heart of a socialist, possibly federated system in Africa, which is what Gaddafi was trying to set up in Libya, right? It looks like the leadership of Niger is pretty rooted in the writings of Thomas Sankara. It looks as though they're pretty they condemn colonialism and imperialism. That the only chance that the West has of preventing a large, somewhat socialist, system, right? It is militarism. But the thing is that America and NATO are kind of depleted forces, right? They can't really engage in the type of war that they need to engage in order to depose these guys. And there's been other countries that have said explicitly, I think it was Mali, said explicitly that if Niger is attacked, then Mali considers that to be an attack on them as well. And so you're seeing federated and solidarity moments coming out of all of this. And it could mean something quite significant. And I think significant things are happening in Africa. I think one of the most significant things that's happened in Africa recently is that there was a summit where the African nations got together and basically signed a series of agreements, military agreements, with Russia. That's an enormous problem for the West. It's an enormous problem for the West. Cannot be understated. Africa is tilting to the east. It's tilting towards the BRICS nations. It's tilting away from the colonial nations, right? This is an enormous problem for the West. And the West is not going to go down without a fight. The trouble is that the West kind of looks like a depleted force. Like, it doesn't really have the... It might have the ability to create weapons, but its own citizens, like, we're all... like, I'm not going to join the military, right? We're all depleted. We're war-weary. I'm certainly not going to join the military to go fight in Niger, right? For all of our white and blue flag waving, for all of our, like, yeah, Ukraine, Slava Ukraine, yeah, we're the greatest, yeah, Stefan Bandera, we love the Azov Battalion, for all that shit, no one signed up, right? Nobody went over there, except like a small handful of people. Like, nobody's enlisting. There's not going to be a draft. None of that's going to happen. The West has nuclear weapons? Yeah, so does China. So does everybody else. Evan the Calm, Americans are fully fucked clowns. Yeah, absolutely. Nice beard, bro. When do you not shave it? You know what? I could actually find that out. I actually could find that out. Enough people have asked me that very question. You know what, dude? We're doing it. We're doing it. You know how we find this out? We go to my channel, we go to my lives, and we just start scrolling. And we just start scrolling, my man. This is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. Here's all my lives, by the way, eh? Isn't that wild? Isn't it wild? Consistently about 130 views. Makes me feel good. Makes me feel good. I'm happy that anybody is listening. I'm happy that literally anybody is listening. Oh, we're back in my old hairstyle. That's good. I'm amazed that you guys are out there, man. I love each and every one of you. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for being here. Here we go. Here we go. We're getting to it. There is a day where I literally am clean shaven. Look at this. Look at this fucking shaven idiot. This guy here. So July... let's call it July 1st. What do you think? Yeah, let's call it July 1st. So it's been a little over a year. Yeah, it's been a year. Look at that. I did it. July 1st, 2022. Little over a year. I'm glad I just did that right there. That makes me feel good about myself. Makes me feel good about myself. Good opportunity, guys, to say like, share, subscribe. Please hit all the bells, hit all the whistles. If you would like to donate to my Patreon, you will find it in the description. I would appreciate that. What I would appreciate even more, though, more than anything else, please tell people I exist. Still now the number one way of spreading around information and spreading around media is still word of mouth. So please, tell a friend, tell somebody I exist, let people know, even if they are like a far-right crazy nut job, even if they are like a libertarian-minded kind of a person. Bring them on in. Let them know that there's somebody who's going to challenge them on a very deep level, because I will challenge you. Thank you, John, for all your work on this channel. It's amazing. I'm surprised you're not a bigger echelon. Kind of authenticates you more, though. Honestly, dude, I think I'm just starting, Matthias. Like, this is the thing that I always have to remind myself about, right? Is that, like, I haven't been doing this for that long, you know? And I'm actually, one of the things that really gives me heart when I'm doing this is to remind myself of that I have not been doing this for that long, and that I'm actually surprised at the support I have now. I'm surprised at the support I have right now. That the support I have right now makes me feel strong. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel that this is going to work, that it is working, that I just need to follow the advice of the far right and just grind set, right? Just grind set, bro. Just keep doing it. Believe in yourself, right? Well, okay. I'm just going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep grind setting. I'm going to keep believing in myself. I'm just going to keep doing it, right? We'll see how that goes, right? One of these days, they'll just take me down. That's my expectation, is that one of these days, they'll just take me down. Because we're going to have a McCarthy period, right? I feel like we're about to go into one here in Canada. So we'll see how it all goes. But thank you all for your support. Thank you for being here. Nothing gives me better joy than talking to you guys every time, right? Every single chance that I have to learn more from you guys, to hear more about what you're thinking about what's going on in the world, it encourages me and it keeps me going. So thank you, each and every one of you, for being here. Tinker writes, breaking news, Oakland landlords sue Elon's ex-Twitter for $1.3 million in unpaid rent. I say throw the billionaire bomb out into the street. Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. Yeah, pro-imperialist channels are able to take off extremely easy. Yeah, just recently my feed keeps showing this anti-China dude where he only started in the past month and he already has 30K subs. Yeah. Well, and we see recently there was a bit of a scandal with Steven Crowder where a huge amount of his base is basically bots, right? Like, of course the imperialist system is going to pump up imperialists. Like, of course. Oh, Command Genius, you wrote earlier how you're doing communist TikToks. Be careful with that, bud. You're going to get banned. I got banned off TikTok, right? I got banned off TikTok. You can get banned off TikTok too. And Midwestern Marks was recently banned off TikTok again. I've seen Pink Williams, the commie cowboy. He was banned off TikTok, right? So, like, they're banning leftists, and we wonder why the discourse is so trash. Gas Kikalensky. How's that for a name, my man? What a name. Gas Kikalensky. That's a fun name to say, man. Gas Kikalensky. That's really like, dude, that's like a race car driver name right there. That's like a name of a villain in a like in a spoof of the Fast and the Furious. That's exactly what that is. That's like you're like, oi, and I'm like turning around and go, Gas Kikalensky, and you're like, yeah, I'm here to kick gas. I love it. Glad you're here, bud. Hope you're here to be beautiful. Oh, what if this has been a fun one, man. I'm so glad that you guys, I'm gonna look through all of this shit for sure. Okay. I've got stuff. We're in the last half hour. And what always happens in the last half hour of this show is that we all kind of run out of gas. Except now we got gas. Look at this. Most Canadians still couldn't buy a home in their city. It's not even close. Like, yeah, this system's working, guys. This system's working. Canadian housing is getting more affordable, but it's still way out of reach for most. National Bank of Canada released its Quarter 2 2023 Housing Affordability Monitor, HAM, showing improvements in most markets. Despite rising financing costs, home prices fell enough to improve affordability. It was the third quarter to show affordability improvements, but it's a long way from correcting 8 years of sharp erosion. There you go. Most of Canada's households aren't even close to being able to purchase a home in today's prices. Like, look at this, okay? This is all you need to see, okay, guys? Like, this is it. Like, you got big housing spikes, and then, oh my God, housing's going up. Oh, look, the trajectory of housing is going up, and now it's down here, right? Like, it literally needs to come down. This is what they're going to do, okay? This is what they're going to do to us. and we all know this is what they're going to do to us, is that it's going to come down to like here, right? And then the entire media system will be like, oh, everything's so much more affordable now. Look, the market crashed. Big market crash happens. What an enormous market crash. Oh my God, the crashing market crashed and it crashed. Oh my God. Look at the crashing market crashing down here. Get fucked. But get completely fucked. And it's 100% what they're going to do to us. Right? They're trying to set a new normal. They're trying to say this is the new normal right here. Right? That they're going to try to say, housing prices came down to $1 million for a house. That's way lower than the $2 million it was before. Normal. What, you can't make $1 million, you can't make a payment for $1 million house? You got to grind set harder. You got to work harder. This is 100% what they're going to do to you. Right? Meat Kingus comes in. If you take a look on my underneath me there, bud. If you take a look underneath, you'll see that there is a chat there, right? You can find the link below. It's to my YouTube. Good to see you, Meat Kingus. Average home price in Ontario just past 1.1. Exactly. Yeah, exactly, right? So they're going to set a new normal, right? Yeah, oh, I'm on the YouTubes. Yeah, exactly, bud. And the whole goal is just to extract as much wealth out of us as possible, right? And they're going to take as much time as they need to do it. All right, what do we got? Solidarity with Niger, France and NATO out of Africa. I love this story. How's this for a story? Clearview AI scraped 30 billion images from Facebook and other social media sites and gave them to cops. It puts everyone into a perpetual police lineup. Normal society. Normal place, right? We're just normal, right? Yeah, meanwhile, liberals are on track to bring in 1.2 million people in 2023. Yeah, because this is their solution to the wage crisis, right? To what they are calling the wage crisis. It's to bring in people who are willing to accept shitty wages, right? Liberals and conservatives want cheap servants. That's what they want, right? They don't want to pay people so that people can afford houses and stuff. They're not interested in that, right? They want cheap stock boys, right? And so that's their solution. Is to bring in a bunch of immigrants who are willing to like sleep 10 to a room. But I thought the interest rate increases were supposed to save us. No. They were supposed to make money for the capitalist class. That's what they were supposed to do. That's what they've always done. And proof's in the pudding, right? Justin Trudeau's Liberals see lowest approval ratings since they formed government. Poll shows. We are looking at a situation where right now the Polyev conservatives are not in a position where they are likely to seize a majority, right? He is putting the white man against itself. What's that about, bud? You doing okay there, Gas? You doing okay there, my man? To turn Ukraine into new Israel. I mean, Zelensky has said that that's his intention. That he looks at Israel and thinks that's what he would like to do. So you're quite right about that. Uh-oh. Are you talking about the kick? And is this anti-Semitic? Command Genius? I trust you, bud. I just want to learn more, okay, bud? Let me know. Let me know what I'm looking at here, bud. Why is this anti-Semitic? Because when I look at this, it's an anti-Semitic caricature of a Jewish person. I mean, the kick is a bigger tell. Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah. See, I was reading it Kick. I wasn't reading it with the full. Yeah. Oh yeah, there you go. Well, self-report. Don't need Nazis in here, bud. Go somewhere else. Like, if you're actually willing to do that kind of stuff and act in that kind of way, like, you're gone, right? Like, you're too far gone, right? Or you're a kid, right? You're just a child. But like, there are young people in this chat, and I value them here so much. So it's just like, Hitler's lover should read about what Hero used to do with his niece. Oh God. Oh God. Oh God. Hold on a second, guys. I gotta help my dog. Sorry, he's getting into that reverse sneezing thing. You know what I'm talking about. Milo, but this has been happening to you a lot recently, man. Are you okay? Ooh. You're gonna make an appearance on the show. You're gonna make an appearance on the show. Here you go. Here you go. Here you go, my man. You okay? You okay? You okay? You okay now? Yeah, he's okay now. Yeah, he's okay now. He's a good little boy. He's a good little boy. I know, buddy. I got riled up by the Nazi, too. Ooh. Like, ugh. Like, what the hell is happening out in the society right now, man? Like, what the hell is happening? Where, like, people are... Where people are... Where people are acting like this, you know? Yeah, Darcy, the PFP is Zelensky doing the Happy Merchant pose. Also, their name is a play on Zelensky. Okay. Yeah, it's all coming together. Ah, man. I definitely did not read it that way, right? Like, I thought it was Kick. Dang. Wasn't immediately apparent to me. And it's even worse now that I'm reading it, right? Because it's gas, right? So it's like about as on the nose as it gets, right? It's like right in your face now. I just don't want to believe people are like this, you know? I just don't want to believe that there's someone who is so aggressively, like, obviously, overtly a Nazi, right? Yeah. Like, that's really brutal. Like, that's really, really brutal. You know? But seeing that kind of thing really does remind me that I got to keep doing this, right? Like, I really, really got to keep doing this. I really, really got to keep doing this. I got to keep bringing voice to this and really keep highlighting that this is what's going on in the society. Because, like, we're giving so much space to the far right now. You got people like Jordan Peterson. You got people like Ben Shapiro. You got the entire Fox News lineup. You got, well, and then CNN, and then fucking the CIA, and all of this, right? And the far right is just getting platformed, and they're expanding. And nobody seems to give a shit. And I do, right? And I do. Yeah. Command Genius writes, I would have ended up like that guy if I hadn't found Marxism. Yeah, man. So I got to keep doing this, right? I got to keep doing this. Don't worry about it, Eric. Little Nazi coming in and us just dealing with the Nazi. Simple as that. All right, yes. Somebody writing in on Twitch. Yeah, let's move on. You're right. Unsurprisingly, Doug Ford's progressive conservatives favored certain developers and controversial Greenbelt plan. No shit. All of the Ontario-based, I'm in Ontario, right? All of the Ontario-based subreddits and socials are just like, can you believe that Doug Ford's progressive conservatives favored certain developers and controversial Greenbelt plan? And I'm just like, yeah. Like, I don't need to think too hard on that, right? Like, yep, I can believe it. Meanwhile, Jeff Bezos building a super yacht so big it needs a support yacht with a helipad. Oh, this one. I wanted to show this one yesterday, and I just forgot about it. I almost forgot about it today, too. Law enforcement took more stuff from people than burglars did last year. Asset forfeitures surpass burglaries. When you combine this with the reality, right? When you combine this with the reality that wage theft outstrips regular forms of theft in huge ways, I should bring that chart up because it's actually enormous. It's amazing how crazy it is. Like, look at how wild this is. Wage theft versus other theft. Robberies. Wage theft. That's not even the best chart I've seen. Let's see if I can find the chart that I want to see. Maybe this one. Yeah, this is the one. Here you go. Wage theft. When employers steal from employees, minimum wage violations, overtime violations, rest break violations, off-the-clock violations, other types of theft, larceny, burglary, auto theft, robbery. And so they get you coming, and they get you going. It's just getting, like, the legitimacy of the system. The legitimacy of the system is beginning. I shouldn't say even beginning. Like, there's no more credibility left in the system. Like, there's no more credibility left in the system. That they are stealing from us on a scale that is absolutely overwhelming while talking about this. They're like, oh my God, did you see someone robbed somebody? Oh my goodness, a car got stolen. Blah, 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 blah. And then on top of that, well, who's doing more theft than this? Who's doing more theft than this? Oh, it's the cops. Oh, it's the cops. Right? Like the biggest thieves that exist in the society is corporate America, followed by the police. And then the populace. Oh, well. Oh, well. And we're all just supposed to, like, go along with it. Yep, cops are a state-sanctioned mafia. You bet they are. Here is, in my opinion, really the only chart you need to look at. Really. Like, is America a fascist nation? Is America a declining empire? John, why are you against America? John, don't you know America is the greatest country in the history of the world? Don't you know that America, all the good that it's done? UN vote to make food a right. Only 2 nations vote no. I'll give you 3 guesses. Give you 3 guesses as to which the other nation was. It's the United States and who's got it? Who's got it? Anybody out there? Oh, get Naranja asking the big question, dude. That's a big question, my man. Comrade, if we don't go along, what do we do? That's the big question, my man. That's the big question. Get to know your neighbors. Start to seriously build a mutual aid network. Start to actually seriously consider and contemplate what you can do in order to provide support systems outside of the system of capital. And get to know your neighbors. Know their names. Get to know them. Go for drinks with them. And start to explicitly say these things. We need to be building mutual aid networks with one another. In this environment, where we are now, in this society, gardening is a radical act. Creating your own food and distributing that food into the society is an act of complete radicalism. Find ways to provide services to people who need them outside of the system of capital. And when I say people, I don't mean like a local group where you got to travel downtown. I don't mean somebody on the other side of town. I mean literally your neighbors. The far right is better at organizing than we are. And the reason why the far right is better than we are is because the far right is getting to know its neighbors. And it's talking to its neighbors. And we are not. Talk to your neighbors. Because when the real crises start happening, your neighbors are all you're going to have. So you should get to know them now. You should get to know them now. Aaron writes, I've saved so much money during that whole lettuce thing because I've always grown my own lettuce. Good for you, Aaron. Holy shit, look at you, Aaron. Being a real champion. You know what I want to start growing is mushrooms. I don't know why. I don't know why I feel this way. I just want to grow mushrooms. Yeah, dude. Let's not be so on the fucking nose, right? Come on, my man. Like brutal. Brutal, brutal, brutal. We don't need this in here, man. Bye-bye. Brutal. The growing your own food. I would like to grow mushrooms. What real crisis? When should I leave town? I don't know where you live, my man. And you know more about it than I do. But like, we are facing a real climate change crisis. Our leadership is not responding rationally. San Jose, California. San Jose, California. I mean, I can't tell you what your local issues are, but I can tell you that a place like San Jose, California, like, you guys are going to have a water crisis, right? Like, that's pretty obvious. And as things progress, that water crisis is going to get worse. For sure. You want to be looking at and investigating pretty significantly what you can do to shore up aid in your community. Like, leaving town is not the issue because the problem is going to follow you. Right? Like, you can't leave the earth. And the systems, the political systems that exist, we are living in an environment of extraction and abandonment. Right? That the wealthy class is essentially extracting as much wealth as they can from us and then abandoning us. And you can especially see that across California with the spiking homelessness, the fentanyl crisis. That the capitalist system is erecting systems in order to deal with the homelessness crisis, but all they've actually done is found a way to make money off the homelessness. San Jose Water Company here is a regulated public monopoly. Fantastic. I'm not going to give you financial advice, my man. Because my advice, I've given it to you. Get to know your neighbors. Get to know your neighbors. Know their names. Find out what they think. Find out how they think things are going. Fantastic. Start creating systems of mutual aid. Fantastic. Grow a garden with them. For real. Grow a garden with them. Start ripping up your backyard. Plant potatoes. Grow a garden. Give them food. Like, this is the way forward. I know that when I say these things, people think that I'm being, like, silly or reductive or dumb. I know it. But it's because people want to believe that the solutions that exist are complex, and they're not. The problem isn't actually that complex. The solutions are not actually that complex. It's just whether or not we want to do it. It's just actually if we want to do it or not. That's all. Anyway, guys. Yeah, I know Command Genius. I think it's the same guy. No, it's just the same guy, dude. He just has another account, right? And it makes sense in terms of the timing, right? It takes about you gotta get into your second account, and then there's a 5-minute delay. I don't just let people subscribe and start talking. Like, there's a delay of about 5 minutes. Maybe it's even 10. I can't remember. So if the guy pops in another couple of minutes, I won't be surprised. I set that all up in the early days because there was one guy who was doing exactly that. Yeah. Yeah, and there's also a chat delay, and I made the chat delay pretty thin. I think there's like a 10-second chat delay because this guy was coming in and he was spamming the whole chat, right? So it's just like, get rid of these guys. And I found that just putting in like a slowdown, just a little slowdown, was enough. It was enough. I don't know anybody in Windsor, man. Sorry. Yeah. Silicon Valley, housing crisis, expensive homelessness, yeah, climate, water shortage, all that. But the truth of the matter is that the problems that we're facing are actually simple to solve, right? Feed everybody, create systems of mutual aid, ensure that everybody has housing, ensure everybody has access to food, stop polluting. Stop polluting. Fantastic, Mikhail. Glad to know you. Windsor. Maybe I'll start... what I should do is start traveling. Do like a traveling tour. See if I can travel out to all the people who follow me. Right? I'll go out to Prince Edward Island, and I'll play some music for you guys. Then I'll go up to Windsor. I'll play some music for you guys. Now, Gat, this is what's important. Here's the important distinction. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I am going to say this, though. It is simple. We make it complicated. That's the difference. It is simple. We make it complicated. That's the distinction, and it's an important distinction to make. I have seen in my life and in my own encounters with many, many people that as we are dealing with each other and as we are dealing with a problem, we are moving towards the solution, and the solution is simple. We make it complicated, and then once the solution is done, everybody looks back on it and says, "Oh, that was actually easy." And so the problem is not the solution. Like, the problem is not the problem. The problem is not the problem. The problem is us. We are the problem. Because we are the ones that are making it complicated. We are the ones that are making it difficult. That the actual solution, the actual doing of the action is actually very straightforward. But we are the ones that are stopping it. We are the ones that are stopping it. Look, here's the thing, Conton. If you guys could get, like, it would be great if suddenly this whole thing turned into me traveling around to you guys doing like shows. That would be great. Wouldn't that be great? Right? Do like a traveling tour. It'd be amazing if like you were sitting there saying like, yeah, I could get like 50 people into a room. Yeah, Gat writes, we are not a single united world, yet we are separated. Yeah, but that's just it, bud. Like, look, this is what we should be expecting, okay? Like, I've said it before, and I'll lay it out for you as clean as I can. I believe that we are going into a period of balkanization. And what that means is that I think that America is going to break up. I don't think it can stay together, given what's happening. That's the reason why I talk about creating mutual aid with your locals, because those are the people that actually matter. We spend a lot of time paying attention to national politics. We spend a lot of time even listening to state politics. How much do you actually know about the politics of your own neighborhood, right? Who are the influential people of your own neighborhood and of your own environment? We get really caught living in this higher upper level, and I'm as guilty as this as anybody else. So my advice to people who are asking what's the way forward, get more involved in your local politics, because your local politics is actually what you can influence and what you can actually do something about. That oftentimes I think people feel like they live in stasis because they feel like things are so overwhelming and big. Well, they're not that overwhelming and big because your environment is what matters. USA demise has been predicted for a long time. What's different now? The decline of the dollar is what's different now, my man. Like, what we are seeing internationally, what we're seeing on the world stage. You're asking really good questions here, bud. I want to give you good answers, but we are getting to the end of the show, okay? But, so, in a nutshell, the United States for the last 40 years has been getting a free ride, essentially, from the rest of the world, right? That it's essentially been trading goods for dollars is how the arrangement has essentially been working. And we have shipped our manufacturing base to China, Vietnam, Taiwan for cheap labor so that we can use those dollars in order to get goods. Yep, Snake points out an organization has arisen internationally called BRICS. This is a trade alliance between Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Hence the name BRICS. Most of the African nations are applying to get involved in BRICS. Latin America is applying to get involved in BRICS. The Middle East is applying to get involved in BRICS, including nations like Saudi Arabia. This is a trade alliance that is essentially saying we need to get off the dollar. If the people who are creating the goods... So fantastic, Gat. You know all about this. Right? You know all about this. And I'm glad to hear it. You trade options for a living. Wow. So you are in the financial system. Gat, I'm going to say this politely, and you're going to hear me say this not politely at some point. And I hope you don't take it personally when I say this, okay? I consider the financialization of our system to be parasitical. That it is against our interests to allow the financialization of our society to exist at all. Okay? And I'm saying that nicely because you're being very polite to me, and I don't want to be rude to you, okay? But I do consider, like, this trade options for a living, this financialization, the banking system, all this kind of stuff, it's a waste of fucking time. It's a waste of fucking everybody's time. It's a parasticization of the real economy, and we need to get away from all of this. and actually focus on tangible, real things that we can actually do in the world. Yeah, you create GDP. Yes, I create no value. I'm aware. Okay, as long as we're being honest with one another, bud, I got to tell you, Gat, I value that a lot. I really value that a lot. Because don't get me wrong, my man, I respect the position you find yourself in. I do. Like, if you are of the mind that's like, oh, I can actually make money doing this, I can get myself positioned with this trade options kind of thing, I know how to do it, I'm good at it, and I can do it, I respect your position, right? So good. I'm glad that we're being honest with one another and that we're not offending one another. Great. Great. China will overtake us in 6 to 7 years, if they haven't already, my man, right? So you know all about BRICS. Once these organizations stop trading on the dollar, the entire rest of the world, we're talking about 3 billion people, we're talking about the vast majority of the population of the planet, is going to turn and look at us and be like, what is it that you do exactly? Like, what is it that you do exactly? What do you make? What do you create? What contribution do you actually put into the world? What are we actually getting from you? And if the answer is dollars, then the response is going to be like, nah, thanks, bruh. We're good on dollars, right? We're good. And suddenly America is not going to be able to trade dollars for goods. We're not going to be able to get stuff. This is going to put the United States government Oh yeah, Gat. Gat writes, I hear what you say about the dollar demise. I feel the horizon on that is 12 to 15 years. Yeah, bud. Like I think in like 100-year increments. Yeah. Like I could see 12 to 15 years. Yeah. That seems right. I don't disagree with that. Like, I love it when capitalists say to me, like, John, you got to think of the future. I'm like, you got to think of the future, bud. Like, you're just looking out for your own skin. That's all you're doing. So, some of us think a little bit differently about these things. Well, hey, Gat. I'm going to close the chat down, but I really value that you've been here. 100 years does not help. I completely disagree, my man. So I'm going to shut the chat down, though, because this is the end of my stream, okay, my man? I really value you being here, though, and a good opportunity to say to a trade options guy, give me some money, man. Come on. You got a bunch of money, right? I got a Patreon down below. Give me some fucking money. Fucking guy sitting over here trading options, right? Give me some fucking money. Nah, Command Genius. I don't think I'm going to be doing the gaming stream. It was an interesting idea, but I got to tell you, commodifying my leisure time, I think it would kill me. I think it would kill me. I can't do it. Sorry. Okay, guys, we're at the end. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. Good opportunity to say like, share, subscribe. Hit the bells, hit the whistles. Tell people I exist. Tell people I exist. And keep coming back, for God's sakes. I love talking to you guys. Always remember, each and every one of you is a quantum being walking around in quantum energy. The billionaire class is spending hundreds of billions of dollars in the hopes you'll never realize it. You'll just stay the good little commodity they need you to be. Rebel. Revolt. Repent. Good luck. We're going to need it.